Pro football is king. That we all know. But which teams have the edge? Which players will shine this week? That's the information we're all trying to find out. And VSiN's got the answers for you. Now, on Inside the Numbers, get the very best information from VSiN's hosts and special guests on the biggest NFL games of the weekend. The best of VSiN, the Pro Football Edition, right now.
And welcome into Inside the Numbers. I'm Sam Panayotovich. For the next 2 hours, I'll be your host as we go through the best of VSiN from the past week with all the NFL news, notes, and analysis before you have to head to the window on Sunday. We kick things off with a member of our Atlantic City team, former NFL exec and now VSiN host Michael Lombardi joined Brent Musburger and his guys in the desert. They discuss some of the top storylines in the games heading into Sunday.
The four highest scoring teams, and of course Kansas City leads the way, averaging just over 37 points a game. And right behind them, New Orleans at 34 points a game, the Rams at 33, New England averaging 30 points a game. Those are your 30-point average scores per game in the National Football League. Michael, what do you make of all the increased scoring that we've got around the league?
I think finally, Brent, people realize that the way Bill Walsh attacked teams on the road through his offense is the best way to win in the NFL today. You can't play great defense and think you're going to win. That 9-6 score, even though, Jacksonville lost to Tennessee 9-6 this year, that's a dinosaur. That doesn't exist. You win on the road from having the ability to be explosive on offense and being able to score points and build the lead. First half point differential, key stat in football. The Chiefs are number one right now. The Rams are number two in that area. So teams that can score early and play from in front typically always win. Last year, the Eagles and the Patriots were the two best teams. So I think what we've seen is a shift. Look, defensive football today is really about situational. Who plays good in the final 2 minutes? Who plays good in red zone third downs? Who can get off the field on certain third down situations? That's called good defense. But to stop a team completely from start to finish, that doesn't exist anymore.
Now, I want to go to the lowest scoring teams by average in the NFL and ask you if there's any immediate future for these teams. Buffalo averaging 11.6, Arizona 13.1, the Raiders 18.3, the Giants 19.6, and Jacksonville only 16.6. Now, those are the five teams averaging under 20 points a game. Your feeling about those franchises' immediate future and long range, Michael?
Well, when you look at Buffalo and Arizona, they're incapable of winning games unless the opponent gives them a game. They can't win on their own. The other team has to lose. So you take them, they're not going to get any better. There's no chance they're going to score a lot of points in that situation. I think Oakland, they trade Cooper. He had 22 passes. Was he a number one receiver? No. I think this is a great trade for Oakland, but I think it's going to affect their offense. Where is his catches and touchdowns going to? Is it going to Jordy Nelson? Is it going to Seth Roberts? I think they're going to stay right about the same. And Jacksonville with the great Blake Bortles, I mean, look, the Jacksonville has been living in denial forever, right? Like they're just they convinced themselves that he's the guy. They paid him $54 million, and their offense is 3 yards, first down, 3 yards. They're never going to score enough points.
And how about the Giants and Eli Manning?
Oh, I left off my favorite subject, Brent. I apologize. Look, Eli will play good against bad defenses, but when you rush Eli this week, the New York Giants defensive front has some really good, talented players in it. When they rush against him, whether it's Kurgan, Payne, or Allen, those guys from Alabama, they're tough to handle. And the Giants' offensive line isn't very good. And Eli gets the ball in his hand quicker than anybody. So I think it's going to be hard for them to score points and be explosive.
Mike, I want to go to a game I'm focusing in on this weekend. Tampa at Cincinnati. I love the Bengals in this spot. The line has come down from 4.5 to 3.5. Am I missing something here? When I look at this Tampa defense, they've got major issues. And the other thing that I like from Cincinnati's point of view is they're solid up front. And Jameis Winston always has that ability to throw an interception at a critical juncture in the game.
No doubt, and he throws them more on the road than he does at home. And I think last week what this line is reflective of is the fact that this is the first time they held an offense to around 300 yards. I mean, typically everybody that plays the Bucs gets over 400 yards, but my man Huey Jackson up there in Cleveland, they couldn't muster 400 yards. So there's no way. And so I think that's why this is reflective. They played a little bit more man coverage last week against the Browns. But look, the Browns, if you double Jarvis Landry, where's the ball going to go?
Yep.
That's the problem. They really don't have another playmaker that they can get the ball to consistently. And then, of course, their offensive line in Cleveland is so bad that Mayfield's getting hit way too much, and I think that's a serious problem. So, I think Cincinnati plays much better at home. Andy Dalton plays much better at home, and I think these receivers are going to have a field day against the Bucs. If they play man in this game, Cincinnati will score in the 30s.
Hey, Mike, this is Vinny. Good stuff on the weekends, by the way. I've been listening. You and JVT are doing a great job at the Ocean in Atlantic City. Mike, this is we're starting to see some second games, second half matchups already, right? You look at the Browns, Steelers, for instance, Broncos, Chiefs. What could we look for here that may be different or the same in these games as these teams have these mid-season rematches?
Well, look, just let's take the San Francisco-Arizona game. I mean, there's two teams that are going nowhere this year. Arizona's playing for the first pick in the draft. San Francisco is probably playing for a high number 5 pick. When you look at the game last time they played, San Francisco turned the ball over. San Francisco just gave the game away. They had over 400 yards. They had the ball 36 minutes. They moved it up and down the field. They just couldn't wait to give the gift to them. But that's the Niners season. They've committed 17 turnovers. They've only have 1 interception and 2 fumble recoveries. So they don't create turnovers, but they give you a lot of them. And if that happens again in Arizona, they struggle to protect. This is a rare thing. A San Francisco, a Kyle Shanahan team, a outside zone team that relies so much on play action is 31st in the league in sacks allowed. That typically should never happen. But because they're so bad on defense, because they get behind in the game, they can't really run play action. They have to drop back and pass, which causes a problem. They're not well suited for that. So I think this game, to me, look, San Francisco, if they just don't turn the ball over, they're going to score enough because I don't see how Arizona scores any points. I think Arizona's defense is good. I think Chandler Jones plays better at home, but I thought that last week when Brent asked me the question, and Denver went in and just drilled them to death. So I'm reluctant to even go anywhere near Arizona.
Mike, let's go to Denver and Kansas City. Chiefs are a 10-point favorite at home. This is a game a lot of people either be teasing down with 7 or even taking Kansas City on the money line. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see the Monday night game. They were gashing them on the ground, but for some reason, they got away from it. I feel like if they do that in this game, they're not necessarily going to win the game, but they can be much more competitive. How do you see Denver's chances on the road in Arrowhead?
Well, look, Denver did a good job the last time they played them. Tyreek Hill averaged under 10 yards a catch. Yeah. Travis Kelce had 11 yards a catch in the game. They did a really good job of condensing the weapons, but they couldn't stop Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt averaged 6 yards a carry in that game, and they were able to move the ball. But when you break down Mahomes, this was Mahomes' really worst game statistically because he was under 7 yards per attempt. So they did a good job. Can they do that on the road? I don't know. Vance Joseph is not a very good coach. This team has not been very good on the road under Vance Johnson's administration. They got their second win last week in Arizona as a road victory for him. I think it's going to be a challenge, but Keenum makes plays down the field. He does make some explosive plays. They've been way too inconsistent. When you look at the Chiefs, where the Chiefs always win, and they did it against Denver when they played them the last time, they're very effective on third down. And if they're effective at home on third down, which they will be because crowd noise will be a factor, I think that's why Kansas City will make this will spread out this lead. And whether they cover or not, I don't know. That's a big spread, but I think Kansas City will play much better offensively than in the first time.
We're speaking with Michael Lombardi, who's a VSiN co-host of Betting Across America on Saturdays and Sundays. Michael, I want to go to analytics. It became controversial, especially with the New York Giants, but we have seen other teams that just out of the blue go for 2 points after a touchdown. What's your feeling overall about what you're seeing? Listen, I'm totally dead set against it unless you have to go or there's a necessary reason to do it. So full disclosure going in, I'm not a fan, but these guys seem to be buying into it.
Right. Brett, I say this. I think you have to see. There's a thing called false duality. When you think there's just A or B in a solution, correct? So either I go for two or I don't go. That's a false duality. And what Mike Vrabel did to me was wrong, completely wrong, because he was looking at, do I go for two, I win. If I don't go for two, I lose. But he gave away a game in the wild card column. You can't do that. He was in control of that game. He didn't have the lead, but when you watch that game, he was in control. That's another factor you have to weigh in before you go for two. Do I have control of the game? What I think Pat Shurmur did, I'm with you, Brett. I'm a traditionalist. I wouldn't have gone for two there. He was increasing his odds to win the game. Okay, great. Go ahead and do it. Where I have a real problem is if you're going to be that reliant on analytics, then how can you have the ball at the 14-yard line and sit there and throw an inbounds pass when you have to score quickly and get the ball back again? That should have been 3 passes into the end zone. If we score a touchdown, great. If we don't, it's incomplete, and we kick the field goal, and we burn 15 seconds off the clock. So when you cite analytics to justify one thing and then you do something completely wrong the other thing, I'm not sure you're really weighing all the factors in. I'm with you. I think when you give yourself a chance to win the game, and you have to go for two, go ahead. What Mike Vrabel did is now his team has to be one game better than the Chargers in the wild card because the number one requirement when it comes to wild card with two teams is head-to-head.
Absolutely, and he could have easily – like you say, he had suddenly turned the game around in the second half. Chargers dominated him early, but when you're in control of the game, go ahead and go to overtime because you got the better team on the field. I totally agree with you in both instances. I thought Shurmur really sort of regretted what he did, the way he brought it up himself in the news conference instead of waiting for someone to ask him the question. He got very defensive about it, but I suppose that's a story for a different day. But and you don't want to tell your players you're aggressive. You tell your players we're going to win the game. You know, they got all the aggression they want. They're out there on the field, hand-to-hand combat that's going on. So I'd certainly – now, the other thing that's starting to bother me, Michael, is a lot of these guys early in games are going on the fourth down for the touchdown, and they're giving it up. I'm saying points are so valuable, kick the field goal and go on about your business. What's your thoughts about that?
Oh, it's, Brent, it's game situation. Look, collect points. Isn't that the object of the game? We're going to collect as many points as we can, right? The final verdict doesn't happen until the fourth quarter. So let's just keep collecting points as we go along, right? There's this thing about being aggressive and being stupid. Like there's sometimes this Eagle season they had last year has ruined everybody. Because everybody wants to be like the Eagles. They're just being aggressively stupid. I mean, they're the Browns, okay? Nobody writes about this or talks about what the Browns did last week because Hugh went out and started talking about how he has to take over the play calling. Well, he had a chance at the end of the first half. If he just kicks a field goal there instead of going for it on 4th and 1, he's going to win the game. Those 3 points came back to haunt him, and yet we don't bring it up. I agree with you, Brett. Just keep collecting points. That's the job. Collect points, and see where you go. But when you turn the ball over and you don't have a plan, here's what happens too often. If I have the ball 4th and goal at your half-yard line, I better know before I make that decision what plays you're going to run coming out. If I know you have very little selection of plays coming out, then I'm going to maybe I go for it because I know I can keep you backed up. That's one of the few situations in football they never talk about on air, but you can steal 3 points if you understand what a team does when they're back up. But before I go for it on 4th and 1, I'm going to make sure I know as a head coach what their 4 plays they want to run coming out and if they're going to be aggressive. If they're not, maybe I go for it because I can pin them for a safety. Maybe I don't. But if they are aggressive like Sean Payton would be, no, wait a minute. Hold on. I'll kick the points.
Michael, you brought up this point, and you're so spot on. You talk about Hugh Jackson foregoing the 3 points at the end of the half in Tampa. Last week in Philadelphia, the Eagles have a 17-point lead against Carolina, and if I'm not mistaken, 12 out of the 13 plays in the fourth quarter, the Eagles throw the ball.
That's right.
For the love of God, can somebody please explain to Doug Peterson that you can run 40 seconds off the play clock every time, or 38 or 39 theoretically, plus 6 rushing the ball? I just don't get it.
Well, I think the other thing is they converted 1 third down in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Look, when you have a 17-point lead, your whole emphasis of the game is how many third downs you can convert. You want 3 plays to get a first down. Yeah. You want to milk this clock. I mean, the perfect paradigm in terms of winning football is you throw the ball in the first quarter 70% of the time. You throw it 70% in the second quarter. In the third quarter, you throw it 60%, and in the fourth quarter, you throw it 25-30. That's how you run the lead. You throw to get the lead. You run to keep the lead, and so that's what you can't do. And when you're 1 for 5 on third down, and you're throwing the ball, and the clock stops. I mean, that's like fouling at the end of an NBA game when you have the lead. The last thing you want to do is stop the clock in the NBA. The last thing you want to do in the NFL when you have the lead is stop the clock.
Mike, talking about collecting points, how about the game? It looks strange seeing the Packers with Aaron Rodgers playing in this game, getting 9.5 on the verge of possibly getting 10 points against the Rams in Los Angeles. Your thoughts on this game?
Well, this is a funny game. Okay, so I started researching this game today, and the Packers have given up an average of 31. If you throw the Buffalo game out where they shut them out, and you take the other games that they played, home and away, they've given up around 28 points a night. Okay, now here's where I think you have to as a bettor. Do you think the Rams are going to score 28 or more? You say, okay, yeah, I think the Rams will score 30. All right, now let's go work our way back. Can the Packers score 40? Because that's how that's what they have to do to beat the spread, right? They've got to beat it by 9 points. So can they say the Rams score 31? Can the Packers score 40? They've only scored 44 points one time on the road with Aaron Rodgers since 2013. They've only scored above 30 on the road 10 times since 2013 with Aaron Rodgers. So you're playing into an area where you're not playing very strong. I mean, this is not an area where, okay, do you think they can cover? No. Do I think they could win 34-31? Yeah, I think they could. But if you take the points in Green Bay, you might have a chance because there's no way that if they're going to get to 44, I don't see how they could cover that. I don't see how the Rams could cover if the Packers could score.
I'm with you. I look at this. One of the things, Mike, to me in this matchup that stood out is if Aaron Rodgers has the ball down 16 points or less in the final few minutes, in the NFL, it's almost like as long as the defense can make you take 5 to 8 plays, they're content with giving you a touchdown.
No doubt. And I think this game's going to be 31-27. I think it's going to be a close game. Look, I don't trust the Packers defense. I don't. But I trust Aaron Rodgers. And I know that Aaron Rodgers will throw the ball effectively against the Rams. I think they'll make some plays. I think they'll score points. I just don't trust their defense. I think this game's going to be in the 30s. And if you want to give the points to the Packers and you want to play the Rams, I think you got to look at that very closely and see. You're going to say, okay, well, the Packers can't score 40, but I know the Packers can score in the 20s, and I think the Rams are going to score just slightly above 30.
If you haven't caught it already, every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, Jonathan Von Tobel and Michael Lombardi betting across America from our brand new studio in Atlantic City. Up next on Inside the Numbers, we have updated odds to win the divisions in the NFL. That's next on the Best of VSiN.
This is Inside the Numbers, the Pro Football Edition, the very best information from VSiN's hosts and guests on this week's biggest pro football games. You can listen to VSiN on SiriusXM Channel 204. Watch us online at vsin.com and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
When you take a 3-team tease with 10 points, you're always under that gun. Well, I'll win 2, I'll lose 1, and then the bet's over. But I did my homework this week, as I try to do, and I really like UCLA.
And then who do you want to pair them with?
Houston is at Navy. They're at Annapolis. Houston is 11.5 points, so I would take that game down to 1.5, and then Houston would just have to win by 2.
Right. And then your third team.
Memphis is at Missouri.
And you liked Memphis last week. You were all over Memphis.
I was all over Memphis. Another high-powered team, very good offensive team. I think it's a shootout. I think this could be a 100-point game.
So I go play my lucky machine here, and knowing Ryan, Michael, you guys, this best machines in town. Bob Dancer will tell you. It took about 3 minutes, Mitch. Won about $5,000. Took about 3 minutes. I will buy you lunch today. Can you get a shot of me here? Yeah.
So you're showing up like at 4:01. We wave you off, and you decide to go play video poker, and you hit a royal flush in 3 minutes, and you just won $5,000.
Close to 5,000.
Yeah. It's good. I like the way that works.
in baseball, when we talk about, those of us who handicap baseball and have done so for many years, we always, in our analytics, we talk about splits. And specifically, we talk about home road splits sometimes with certain pitchers. Just an odd thing with certain pitchers based on ballpark. Some teams sign pitchers based on their skill set and their particular dimensions and conditions of their own ballpark. Some of these football teams in the NFL this year seem particularly home road splittish.
So they were really just protecting themselves. Yeah, except for that dude on the right. I don't know what he's clowns thinking he's going to do. Yeah, but the two guys that hit in the orange shirt and the blue, they weren't. Like, the orange shirt's more leaning towards the right. The guy in the blue is kind of protecting himself. Mookie's glove closed before the ball. I don't know if that's because he touched a hand or not and it's a reaction. I don't know if he's going to catch it, but what I do know is the fans did not go into the field of play to interfere with that ball. I thought that calling that an out was wrong. I mean, I don't know how else you put it. Jose Altuve in Houston got robbed.
Welcome back to Inside the Numbers, where you get the best insight from VSiN's experts on this weekend's biggest pro football games.
Believe it or not, by Tuesday, we'll be halfway through the season in the NFL. Mitch and Paul from Follow the Money give us a glimpse at the updated odds to win divisions in the NFL.
All right, so some updated numbers now in the NFL, courtesy of William Hill. Division numbers. Where to begin? AFC East, Patriots 1-40. There you go. Dolphins playing on Thursday night. They're 8-1. Jets 40. Bills 500-1.
Well, we'll do that more tomorrow. But the stats so far, 2 games for Gase on Thursdays, disaster. 22-7 and 40-0. Yikes!
Mm-hmm. In the West,
and they don't have any wide receivers tomorrow, so that could be. O'Brien knows Osweiler too, so that's.
Who's it going to be? Amendola?
Yeah, he's banged up too.
I know.
Wilson's out, and then you have Parker's agent saying Gase is incompetent. It was a healthy scratch. Now he's got to play him. He doesn't have a choice.
That and Kenny Stills is hurt too.
Yeah.
Okay, how about in the South here? Pretty soon I'm going to have a bet on every team in this division. A couple of weeks ago, we told you about the Texans at plus 425. Now they lead the South, and at William Hill, they're minus 150. Jags are plus 220. I want nothing to do with that team. Titans plus 550. Have the bye this week.
They already cut Charles. That didn't last long.
Yeah.
Well.
Trade for Hyde, too. And here's the team I was talking about before the break. A possible bet here on the Colts. I'm asking the question. The Colts at 18-1, and here's the reason why. They play Oakland this week. I fully anticipate a win by the Colts to improve to 3-5. Then they have their bye. After the bye, 3 home games. Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Miami. In my opinion, all 3 are winnable. Then they go on the road to Jacksonville, on the road to Houston, but then 2 more home games. Dallas and the Giants, they close at Tennessee. I don't think it's far-fetched to think 9-7 can win this division. And I know this. I can't trust the Titans now. I absolutely cannot trust the Jaguars. What is Deshaun Watson's lung going to be like going forward? And in this division, where you can't really trust a lot of these teams, the Colts right now, they have the best quarterback. Luck is playing great football. He's got 20-plus touchdowns already. Nobody's talking about it.
Man, you can have them. I don't want the interceptions. Not at that price. No way. So what? They beat the Bills. They're 2-5. They're 0-1 in the division. They're 1-4 in conference. They're going to lose all these tiebreakers. And I think Frank Reich, you want to take the tie now? How big was that against the Texans? How big was that? Tie would have helped you out.
Also, they had the game against Cincinnati in Week 1. Could have beat Philadelphia. That tie you talked about, and 42-34 against the Jets. But
that was pathetic, right?
Yeah.
Getting blown out against the Jets, and then the pick 6 early, and what happened? Don't trust them on the road. And
do they finally have a running game though? Mack was good last week.
What a job by the Texans. They should win tomorrow. That'd be 5 in a row after we wrote them off, and especially O'Brien, who looked like he was going to be the coach going to be whacked. That's a great turnaround by the Texans.
But I will tell you, if Watson has to miss any time in that lung, I mean, he had to take a 12-hour bus to the game. Couldn't fly. They were worried about the pressure on the lungs.
No.
That doesn't sound great. In the North, the Steelers now lead this division. They're your favorite at plus 140. Ravens plus 150. What a huge missed extra point by Justin Tucker. Bengals plus 250. Browns 60-1.
Steelers and Ravens play, I think it's coming up here, and the Ravens are a 3-point favorite. Already got the win in Pittsburgh on that Sunday night. And who knows what's going to happen with Bell? You're right. Nobody knows a damn thing. When's he going to show up? Will he show up? Now the report is he's not going to show up until after the deadline. What a fiasco. In any event, they were my Super Bowl pick. I'm going down with the ship. I'll stay with the Steelers, even though I did bet the Ravens win total over, but that's now that's in trouble at 8.5.
I actually don't think now is a bad time to bet the Steelers to win the Super Bowl. They're 18-1.
Really?
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah, I would say if you have faith in this team after the bye, you maybe think Bell's going to be a contributor down the stretch. If this defense improves, 18-1, best number I've seen since the beginning of the year.
No, that's
certainly.
right, though. Paul Charchian nailed that. Will he be a pariah in the locker room? Will they welcome with open arms? Will he show up? I don't know. A lot of unanswered questions with him.
All right, the NFC West. Rams are now 1-100. Forget about it. Seahawks are plus 850.
I can't even believe that. 850.
Yeah, when a team is
yeah. They're 3.5. They're 3.5 back already.
They should be 35-1
at least
minimum.
8.5.
In the North, Vikings even. Packers 3-1. Bears plus 360. And how about the Lions plus 550?
I bet the Lions yesterday. I took a shot. I said, what the hell? They're 3-3 and they beat the Packers at home.
They have five division games left.
They had the big Yeah, they always give the Vikings problems. Mm-hmm. They have a running game finally. Maybe they can win in spite of Stafford. I took a shot. The Packers are fugazi. Can't stop a nosebleed. Mm-hmm. I took a shot. I said, what the hell?
I think I'm going to do that myself.
Trubisky can't play.
And let me give you this.
What was he? We started 15 of. Oh, he had some horrible numbers against the Patriots. Throwing it up for grabs. Couple interceptions. What did they say? I can't remember. I was listening. I think it was Lombardi. He started 15 of 40 or something. It was ridiculous what he started at. Anyways, throwing the ball. But yeah. So to me, I like the Lions more than the Bears. Always give the Vikings problems. Already beat the Packers, and I don't like the Packers to begin with. Why not? Remember, they got off to that bad start, the Monday night debacle, and
well, the Packers' schedule coming up: Rams this week at the Patriots. No thanks, Detroit. By the way, and here's to your point of the running game and Kerryon Johnson, who we have. We love that guy on this show. Matthew Stafford's pass attempts in San Francisco when that game got a little squirrely because they were down big, they had to come back. But he threw the ball 53 times in that game. Paul, since that game, he's thrown the ball 36 times in the loss to the Cowboys. I'm sorry, that was in the win over the Patriots. 30 pass attempts in the loss to the Cowboys. 26 against the Packers. 22 against Miami. So as that number continues to go down, that tells you that the running game continues to improve, and I love seeing that with this team. I think 550, not bad.
Yep.
In the East now, the Redskins plus 125. We talked about this a few weeks back when they were 5-1.
I already got them 5-1. Mm-hmm. 2-game lead in the loss column. How about that? That loss against the Colts looks. What happened? How big is that now? Can't explain that. But big one for the champs Sunday in London. Cowboys think they have something there with Cooper. Again, a horrible trade. Give up a first-round pick. What'd the Patriots give? 5th-round pick for Gordon.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. A guy who's actually accomplished something in this league. So, and they go. I know he has the off-the-field issues, but that's it. I think the Redskins can do this. Absolutely. Not that they're that good, but it's just
by default,
the problems with the Eagles.
So many injuries now,
and now you're already a couple games back.
Do you want to lock in? So we each have the Redskins 5-1. Do you want to lock in a profit with the Eagles plus 160?
Well, I'm dismissing the Cowboys then, which I don't know. There could be injury. Stranger things can happen. Let's see how Dak does. Let's see how Dak does with his new weapons here. And we were talking off air yesterday with Gil about pocket awareness. Dak has none. Dak's in who was Gil talking about? I brought up Kevin Cobb. Oh, Gil said Eli. I'll say Kevin Cobb. Horrible pocket awareness. Dak's getting in that mix. Got a guy coming right at him. He doesn't even see him. And then tries to avoid the sack. Drops the ball. Carrying it like a loaf of bread. At his own 1-yard line, mind you. Thank you. Scoop and score. Defensive touchdown, Washington. I mean, just Dak's regressed. We'll see how much Cooper helps, but it's unfortunate what you're seeing with Dak Prescott.
One more quickly here in the South. Saints minus 325. Panthers plus 340. Falcons 12-1. Buccaneers 18-1.
Tough games coming up for the Saints.
Oh, their schedule's brutal.
Tough schedule. Panthers, no one talks about them. Hard to figure out, but again, there they are. They're going to make the playoffs. Probably win 10 games again. Atlanta, get out. Tampa, get out. 2 worst defenses in the league. Atlanta made Eli look good in the second half. That's how bad their defense is. And I cut them some slack because of the injuries, but I already have the Panthers at the 380. So
I bet them with you then, too, because when you did that a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, we like the Panthers a couple of weeks ago. Redskins there was another team or two in the mix as well.
When we come back, we bring the blitz. JVT and Matt Youmans take us through the Sunday slate game by game on Inside the Numbers, the best of VSiN.
This is Inside the Numbers, the Pro Football Edition, the very best information from VSiN's hosts and guests on this week's biggest pro football games. You can listen to VSiN on SiriusXM Channel 204. Watch us online at vsin.com and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live.
I would say for me, the hardest team to handicap each week is the Chicago Bears. Sometimes they look like world beaters, especially in that great win they had over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mitchell Trubisky threw for 6 touchdowns in that game. They also had a very impressive performance against the Green Bay Packers. I know they lost the game, but they easily covered. They should have won. And then other weeks, they've really looked like the team they were last year, a losing team. Most notably, they let down the book on Sunday against the New England Patriots. Trubisky could have thrown 2, 3, 4 interceptions in that game. He was very erratic. You don't know what you're going to get from Trubisky week in and week out. You don't know what you're going to get from that defense sometimes either.
Philadelphia Eagles, they're just 3-4, 1-2 on the road, 2-2 at home. But the teams they've beaten so far, the Colts, the Giants, and the Falcons, they all have one thing in common: losing records. They haven't beaten anybody really good yet. The teams they've lost to are Tampa, Tennessee, Carolina, and Minnesota, and 2 of those losses have come at home. So I think through the first 7 weeks, they're a really tough team to handicap.
The Dallas Cowboys have been the toughest team to handicap in the NFL. Week in, week out, it is a different team that seems to show up on the playing field. Plus the inconsistencies of the running game and the quarterback, injuries to the offensive line, defensive injuries to their team captain, Sean Lee, and coaching, which definitely is changed up each and every week by Jason Garrett, has made the Dallas Cowboys definitely the toughest team to handicap in the NFL this season so far.
I have to say Philadelphia. I mean, they're very pedestrian 3-4 at the moment. They're just 2-5 against the spread. As their own coach says, they're only a couple of plays from being 5-2. It's very hard to know what's going to happen with this team. Like yesterday, they're up 17 points in the fourth quarter. The biggest comeback for Carolina in their history. Philly runs 14 plays on offense in the fourth quarter. They pass 12 times. They squander a 17-point lead. Very frustrating time to be on that team, and a very frustrating time to be handicapping or investing in that team.
Welcome back to Inside the Numbers, where you get the best insight from VSiN's experts on this weekend's biggest pro football games.
The NFL returns to London Sunday bright and early with a game that looked a whole lot better 2 months ago. The Eagles and Jaguars get together. Last year's champs head in as a 3-point favorite. But Matt Youmans explains why it should be no surprise if Blake Bortles plays well in London.
We go inside the numbers, and we start with, of course, the first game on the rotation on the schedule. Eagles at the Jags? No. This one's in London. The Eagles, of course, hitting the road, as do the Jags, to take on Jacksonville in a funky London game early on. They're a 3-point favorite on a neutral spot. Total is 42.5. And the question, I think, is here, these London games are a little odd. I know you played one this weekend with the Chargers and the Titans.
Easy. That's another case of an easy cover for the Titans.
Yeah, there you go.
No sweat about it.
Always in it. But the Jags, how do you want any piece of the Jags?
I don't know. You got players fighting in the locker room. They don't believe in the quarterback. But Bortles, when you look at the Jags and their trips to London, he's 3-0 with an 8-1 TD to INT ratio. He's played well in London. You got to give him the role to start this week and say, can he do it again? Is there something about Bortles in London?
With a quote,
can he get back on track? I think this is his last chance.
Yeah, and they don't really have much to turn to either. So you would think as we look at these teams wheeling and dealing.
And you should catch an Eagles team that you're talking about angry when, we were handicapping some team earlier, I think Michigan State. The team that should be angry is the Eagles after blowing out 17-0 lead at home.
Yeah, the Eagles were on my short list in terms of the plays to look at because this situation just does look like a favorable one for them. Next up, the Browns at the Steelers. Pittsburgh yesterday in the range of a 7.5 to an 8.5 point favorite. They're an 8-point favorite here at home against the Cleveland Browns team, who it looks like it might be starting to catch up to them. They do cover against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but this offense looks like it's in dire straits to the point where Hugh Jackson is actually talking about taking over play calling again because it was just such a well-oiled machine last year when he was in charge.
Yeah, if he takes over play calling, give me the Steelers.
Just rips it from Todd
Just bet against Hugh Jackson. I do think this is going to be one of the 3 most popular teaser games on the card this week. Knocked the Steelers down to -2, and that's going to be on a lot of teaser tickets. The Browns still finding ways to lose games.
And you know what else is going to be a popular teaser play? The Chiefs. As a 10-point favorite taking on the Denver Broncos.
The thing about this, you can't knock it below the key number of 3, and that's why it's not as valuable on a teaser play.
Yeah, but people will do it. They do like Kansas City. And the Broncos, we have talked about them at length here. On the road, catching 10 points. You'd rather have it at home, They're not good on the road.
I'm interested in the Broncos here. I think they might show up and give you a big effort. And, the first game was a little bit deceiving. They had the 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. That number was opened to 5, dropped to 3.5, so the Chiefs get the cover. They win 27-23. The Broncos had their chances, obviously, to win that game. Keenum missed on a throw he should have made late in the game. But I also felt like the officials kept the Broncos in the game. They kept it they kind of changed the game a little bit. If you go back and look, the Chiefs were flagged 10 times in that game, and the Broncos only 3. And to me, it was a little bit like a home field officiating advantage for the Broncos that night. If they can find a way to pressure the quarterback, I think Patrick Mahomes, if you get pressure on him with Von Miller and Chubb in that front, you can stay in this game this week. I'm interested in the Broncos here.
All right, Jets at Bears up next. I don't think – look, we were talking about this one yesterday. Like, it seemed like a favorable spot, like back-to-back home games. You're getting the New York Jets, who are riddled with injuries, but the number is what keeps you away from Chicago. Yeah. You don't want to lay 7 with Mitch Trubisky, who can't find a dude downfield to save his life.
He's got some wheels.
Yeah.
He's making plays with his legs.
Guys miss left and right against the Patriots.
But he's definitely having trouble with accuracy, which is strange because when he's on the run out of the pocket, I see him make some really accurate throws. But he's struggling right now reading defenses and, making some throws he should hit. He's missing. But still, you got to keep in mind this guy's a really young quarterback. He started, 12 games in North Carolina. Last year, he was in John Fox's college option offense. So it's almost like last year he didn't have any valuable experience whatsoever. And you're in Matt Nagy's new offense here. I'm trying to be patient with Trubisky. I know a lot of people want to rip the guy, but he's got a lot of athletic ability. He's got the arm. I think he's got potential. I just don't want to lay these points with the Bears. And then the Jets, again, they could go on the road here and get blown out. I don't want to jump from one side of the fence to the other, but Sam Darnold has thrown 10 picks so far. He's probably going to turn the ball over here against the Bears defense this week. No interest. But if you said I had to play it on something, I'd say give me the Bears on a teaser.
Okay. All right. If I had to play, if you were to twist my arm and just go, you have to lay it or take it, I would take it with the Jets +7. Redskins at Giants, and I will not waffle on that. You already have this, so you talked about this one. The Giants now pick, or you can catch one with them in certain shops around town. The Redskins played the short home dog role 2 weeks in a row, and now they might be the short road favorite this weekend against New York.
Yeah, we're talking about the Giants selling off pieces. Damon Snacks Harrison's gone. Eli Apple's gone. They might trade Janoris Jenkins. Not a lot positive working with the Giants right now. And that makes it tough for me to take them in this spot. I had the easy cover with the Giants on Monday night.
Yep.
So I think after getting lucky as hell with the Giants on Monday night, I'll just stay away from the Giants this week. But I could see why you would like the Redskins. You could make a case that the Redskins are atop the division. They're trying to rally. They believe they might be a playoff team. The Giants could lose hope at some point. And really, the offensive line and Eli, that problem's not going to get any better. They just can't protect the guy. He cannot make plays. You're counting on Saquon and Saquon Barkley and Odell Beckham to just bust some big plays. And, hope. It's almost like you're just hoping something can happen if you take the Giants. And I don't want to take the Giants again this week.
I only need 4 more wins with Washington. Over 7.5.
Yeah?
Yep. Only four more. Only four more.
Good, man.
Seahawks at Lions up next. Detroit hit the road last weekend. They were in Miami, took care of the Dolphins, and now they're at home taking on the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are coming off of a bye week. It sounds like KJ Wright could actually be playing in this spot. The Seahawks have been surprising, at least against the number. I kind of like Seattle in this spot, catching a field goal. This looks like a team that's getting a little bit healthier on the defensive side of the ball. If you have both your linebackers there, have much more confidence in them. I get that you have an addition along the defensive line with Detroit, but I think Seattle catching a field goal seems like a pretty solid spot. It will not waffle.
I like the Seahawks a little bit here, too. +3, got the better quarterback, Russell Wilson. And I actually feel like that the Seahawks have overachieved from what I expected from them early in the season.
Yeah, I would say that. Both
sides of the ball. Their defense has been a lot better than I think anybody expected, even when you lose guys like Earl Thomas. I'm going to go. I'm a little bit surprised we're not seeing 2.5s out there on this game, but that's fine. I'll take +3 with the Seahawks. I like that play.
All right, Buccaneers at Bengals. On the surface, I looked at the Bengals as a 4.5-point favorite, and I was like, nah, to me, I liked it too much. So I was like, all right, I can't get on it. But the Bengals are 4-3 right now, 4-3 against the number, taking on a Bucs team, getting a solid win.
How about the Bucs leading the NFL in total offense, 449 yards per game, but their defense
yards per play too.
Bottom end, yeah. The Bucs have a lot positive to build on here offensively, but defensively they're at the bottom of the league. This is one of those games where I always talk about the Bengals being a much better home team than they are on the road. They just got embarrassed Sunday night in Kansas City. I don't believe in the Andy Dalton, Marvin Lewis combination. I never have. I will pass on this game.
Much more to come on Inside the Numbers, the best of VSiN. Former sports agent and now reporter for CBS, Joel Corey. He joins Follow the Money to discuss some line movement on the Raiders, their recent moves, and much more.
This is Inside the Numbers, the Pro Football Edition, the very best information from VSiN's hosts and guests on this week's biggest pro football games. You can listen to VSiN on SiriusXM Channel 204. Watch us online at vsin.com and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
We ready? We take teasers on the NBA.
Oh, my man.
Hold on.
My man knows. I can't resist. How about Moneyline Parlay?
There you go. How can you tease the NBA? There's 220 points might be scored.
That's my
this
point.
Extra 4.5 points are really going to do me good. I guarantee he makes the bet.
I can lay 8 with the Warriors. Okay. All right. Now, the Celtics, I can bring them down. Which way, Vinny, do I make more money on the $100? The tease or the money line?
Hey,
okay.
Do yourself a favor. Don't quit either job you have.
I watched last week when they Purdue put 46 straight points up on Illinois. And the play calling, creative and aggressive play calling by Jeff Brom is something you just don't see from a lot of coaches. And frankly, there's a lot of NFL coaches would be served to watch film of this guy's play calling and adjust, because I love how aggressive the guy is, and I think they're going to attack Ohio State Saturday night in prime time, and I think the Buckeyes are going to be sweating. They should be on upset alert. I wouldn't be shocked if Purdue wins that game straight up.
Could you please, sir, give us one moment of non-humility where you share once again the stuff that actually started with you? Because we talk about season wins with Jimmy all the time, but you started some stuff.
I had a few things I started. The mega teaser, the super teaser, whatever you call it, that card.
The three-team 10-pointer.
10-point teaser. Yeah, I was the first to come up with that.
That's you. The stuff that everybody takes for granted.
Yeah.
That was you.
I was the first to come up with that.
Wait, JVT's favorite team is the Colts?
Oh, he
didn't know this?
Loves the Colts. He's got a Colts. He has a Colts tattoo, Jay. He has a Colts tattoo.
Okay, that's inaccurate, but I do have a Colts watch.
Jay, let me ask JVT a question then. What does the Colts stand for?
I'm sorry?
What the Colts?
Like, what is a Colt?
The Colt.
It's a baby horse.
Yes, COLTS. What does that stand for?
I have no idea. What does that stand for?
Oh, I was told this by a Colts fan many years ago, and I still remember it today. Count on losing this Sunday.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, okay.
Welcome back to Inside the Numbers, where you get the best insight from VSiN's experts on this weekend's biggest pro football games.
Welcome back to Inside the Numbers. My name is Sam Panayotovich. It's been a busy week of trades in the NFL, and the biggest move, the Raiders shipping Amari Cooper to the Cowboys for another first-round pick. CBS NFL writer Joel Corey joined Follow the Money early this week to discuss the deal and the current state of the Raiders.
I want to begin with this. You live in Las Vegas as well. So are you pretty excited with the Raiders' move here in a couple of years as they're trading all their best players?
Well, that kind of dampens the enthusiasm. So we'll see what the team looks like in 2020, assuming the stadium opens on time when they get here. I would be a little concerned whether you got the right guy shopping for the groceries in Bill Parcells speak, because if you look at what John Gruden did in Tampa Bay with draft picks, granted, and also free agents, granted, have the cap room he's going to have next year in Tampa, but that should be a cause for concern.
I totally agree.
That's a good article you have, Joe, on Joel, CBSSports.com about his track record and also their history of whiffing on all these picks.
Yeah, because everyone, even the best talent evaluator, is going to have some misses. But Gruden had one Pro Bowler from the time he assumed total control in Tampa, 2004, once Rich McKay lost the power struggle, through his tenure, 2008. That was Davin Joseph. He went twice. Aqib Talib, his last first-round pick, didn't become a perennial Pro Bowler until he was traded from Tampa long after Gruden was gone. Granted, he did have some bad luck. Cadillac Williams, Offensive Rookie of the Year, 2005, tears patella tendon early in his career and is never the same after that.
What did you make of the trade then, the last one they made with the Cowboys, getting a first-round pick? I was stunned they got that much for him. Were you?
Oh, yes. That's the type of thing where if someone says yes, I rush to turn the paperwork into the league before that team comes to its senses and changes its mind.
Mm-hmm. But what do you think of Cooper, though?
Getting a first-round pick for
Yeah, I was gonna, sorry to cut you off, Joe. But
he's a tough guy. Okay, but go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say because to me, he has a very high ceiling, and he was worthy of a number 4 overall pick. You know, as long as you're going to use him the right way. But he's had one good game in 2 years.
Yeah, he's regressing. So you got the option year of almost $14 million next year. That makes more sense in Dallas than it does for the Raiders because that receiver by committee approach wasn't working. I guess Dallas is looking at it from the standpoint that at least he's done something in the NFL, and anyone we're going to take in the first round as a receiver is an unknown quantity, and you don't know what they're getting. Maybe what Dallas should have done is great as Leighton Vander Esch has been so far. If they wanted an Alabama receiver, move back in the first round, pick up extra picks, and get Calvin Ridley instead.
Do you think Carr is next? Would you move the Carr if you're the Raiders if you get a nice offer?
I think he's here for the rest of the season. 2019, it wouldn't surprise me if Derek Carr is playing elsewhere. John Gruden's very demanding on quarterbacks and sours on them pretty quickly. The only one that really met his high expectations was Rich Gannon. That was a guy in his mid-30s. Part of the Cooper compensation complicates any trade for Carr because if you can get a first-round pick for Amari Cooper, you certainly aren't going to settle for just a first-round pick for Derek Carr. I'm thinking that if someone offers them a first and a fourth, the conditional fourth, which could elevate based on certain conditions, kind of like the Sam Bradford trade, maybe they have to seriously consider that. Don't forget, 2016, Derek Carr, third in MVP voting. People were making these Aaron Rodgers comparisons, which don't seem to have any validity for the way he's played ever since then. But quarterbacks are hard to find, and teams overvalue them in the draft and usually overvalue them in trade packages when they think the guy has a lot of upside. Yeah,
those are two great points. What overpaying for quarterbacks, and also what this does to the market. I mean, if Cooper goes for a first, what do you get? What's Patrick Peterson go for?
Exactly. That kind of changes the whole trade market because you're thinking, well, we should get more than that if they can get first for a guy that is on a backwards career trajectory right now. But Peterson yesterday came out and said he's fine staying in Arizona after getting assurances from ownership. So maybe that gets revisited in 2019 if the season doesn't turn around at least a little bit.
Would you trade for Le'Veon Bell?
Absolutely not. For one, he controls the process. As a player on an unsigned tender, you can't trade him. He has to sign his tender first. I've been through that situation years ago with Jimmy Hitchcock, who was a restricted free agent with the Patriots. They drafted Bucky Jones in the first round. New England wanted to trade him to Baltimore, who drafted a first-round pick. Jimmy didn't want to go, so they're like, you're not signing the tender. So the trade couldn't be made. He got traded to Minnesota later in the draft. He didn't draft a corner in the first round. So that's the first problem. And the second problem is you can't extend him as a franchise tag player because that July 15th, 16th deadline applies to any team that acquires him. So you're basically renting him for a handful of games with no guarantee that you could even sign him. And then a third franchise tag would be the quarterback number. You could put a transition tag on him, but still. So it seems like it's more trouble than it's worth. I'm trying to get a running back. I'd go get LaShawn McCoy because at least you know he's under contract next year and he's playing. And I know he's in concussion protocol right now, but I'm trying to get a higher quality back. That has less complications.
Yeah, I'm asking you to speculate. This could be tough, but how this plays out, when he shows up, if he shows up, and what that'll be like in the locker room where it's, oh, wow, look who showed up. And it's not, how he'll be received, how he'll be treated. Not to mention Connor's been doing a pretty good job, too.
I expect that he signs the tender after the trading deadline because if he signs it this week, then they could trade him. And if he wants to be in Pittsburgh, that's the way to ensure control. Players show up. Usually all is forgiven because most players understand or put aside any differences with business decisions, even though he's seemed to distance himself from everyone. We've been through that with Keenan McCardell in Tampa.
Oh, yeah.
That when he had a holdout years ago, that they were pleased from Tampa guys for him to come back, and he was eventually going to come back, but he ended up getting traded to the Chargers. So players usually understand contractual and business matters, even though this one's a little harder to understand than most because I don't know if I could advise a guy to give up $855,000 a week because that's going to be hard to make up on your next contract. That's a lot of money when you would have almost doubled your career earnings by playing under the full tender this year.
Terrific point. Follow the money, Sirius XM 204, Fubo TV. Joel Corey, our guest, former sports agent, now with CBS Sports. Can the Jags do anything at all? I know they can't go back to the offseason and undo the signing of Blake Bortles, or are they just stuck with the guy going forward?
That was the mistake. You should have let him play on his fifth-year option for $19 million, then you could have been done with him with no cap consequences after this season. The problem is that that's not the most tradable contract with the way he's playing. Who wants to take on $16 and $18 million salaries in the next 2 years for Blake Bortles, where $6.5 million is already fully guaranteed? I wouldn't. So, yeah, they're probably stuck with him. There's $10 million of bonus proration, which would be dead money for trade. And then if you cut him, there's another 6.5. The 6.5 could be recouped depending upon what he signs for because of the offset with the guarantee. But what I would do, it's not going to happen. I would try to get Cleveland to do one of these Brock Osweiler things where I'm trying to sell you Blake Bortles, and I'll give you a third, fourth-round pick. And can we have Tyrod Taylor right now? That's what I would do. It's not going to happen, though.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, all excellent points again. You could see it too, Joel. Everyone's frustrated, and what the effect it's had on the team. They've lost 4 of 5. The defense has suffered, and they're getting blown out in these games.
Well, it puts too much pressure on the defense because he turns the ball over on short fields. Plus, the running game has had problems because Leonard Fournette's been injured, which is why you had to go out and get Carlos Hyde. And this is a team built to win now. So Blake Bortles is, unless he can revert back to what he did last year in the playoffs and didn't turn the ball over, he's going to be the anchor weighing down that team, and that's a very mediocre division that anyone who gets hot can win it.
Right. How uncomfortable is this situation tonight that Parker was a healthy scratch. The agent for Parker calls Gase incompetent. And now because of all the injuries, he's got to play Parker in there, even though he was a healthy scratch. And you would think that, at least in my opinion, that it's the wide receiver complaining to the agent, and then the agent goes to the media and blasts the head coach.
Yeah, that's what I suspect, too, that there was a conversation between the two. He's advocating for his client publicly. And that's why the agent does it as opposed to the player blasting, because then the player can have quote-unquote plausible deniability and throw his agent under the bus if he has to, because you're supposed to be the shield and take the slings, kind of like Roger Goodell does for the owners, does their bidding. Maybe it's not the best analogy, but still, that's really what I think happened. But there is going to be an interesting dynamic because they have to put him on the field when they had no intention of doing that because of all the injuries at receiver.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Joel, so recently the reports came out in the Denver area that Demaryius Thomas could be moved from Denver to, who knows where. A couple of things here. Would you have interest in him if you're in the market for a wide receiver? And if that trade or trading for him doesn't make any sense, do you have any other deals in mind that actually you would like to see here before the deadline?
Well, if I'm the Tennessee Titans, I'm trying to get some receiver to come in, whether it's I thought they should have been the Amari Cooper sweepstakes, but I wouldn't give a first-round pick. They've lost Delaney Walker, who was their best receiver, tight end. And then their second-best, most productive receiver past 2 years, Rashard Matthews, wanted out because he wasn't getting a lot of playing time with the coaching change and recovering from preseason knee surgery. There's a big hole in their passing game. So maybe it's Travis Benjamin from the Chargers or Demaryius Thomas. I was going to say Devontae Parker, but now they have so many injuries, you can't really – they now need him. But Tennessee's got to get somebody in there to help that passing game because losing those two guys, that's a lot of pressure to put on Corey Davis. Now, I've got another one of those radical ideas. Denver takes back Devontae Parker. Demaryius Thomas gets reunited with Adam Gase, and Miami gives up some sort of pick in the process as well.
Okay. All right, that makes sense.
One more to go on Inside the Numbers. Up next, the Westgate's John Murray joins Uncle Brent and his guys in the desert over all the stat lines for the week's Super Contest.
This is Inside the Numbers, the Pro Football Edition, the very best information from VSiN's hosts and guests on this week's biggest pro football games. You can listen to VSiN on SiriusXM Channel 204. Watch us online at vsin.com and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live.
I would say for me, the hardest team to handicap each week is the Chicago Bears. Sometimes they look like world beaters, especially in that great win they had over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mitchell Trubisky threw for 6 touchdowns in that game. They also had a very impressive performance against the Green Bay Packers. I know they lost the game, but they easily covered. They should have won. And then other weeks, they've really looked like the team they were last year, a losing team. Most notably, they let down the book on Sunday against the New England Patriots. Trubisky could have thrown 2, 3, 4 interceptions in that game. He was very erratic. You don't know what you're going to get from Trubisky week in and week out. You don't know what you're going to get from that defense sometimes either.
Philadelphia Eagles, they're just 3-4, 1-2 on the road, 2-2 at home. But the teams they've beaten so far, the Colts, the Giants, and the Falcons, they all have one thing in common: losing records. They haven't beaten anybody really good yet. The teams they've lost to are Tampa, Tennessee, Carolina, and Minnesota, and 2 of those losses have come at home. So I think through the first 7 weeks, they're a really tough team to handicap.
The Dallas Cowboys have been the toughest team to handicap in the NFL. Week in, week out, it is a different team that seems to show up on the playing field. Plus the inconsistencies of the running game and the quarterback, injuries to the offensive line, defensive injuries to their team captain, Sean Lee, and coaching, which definitely is changed up each and every week by Jason Garrett, has made the Dallas Cowboys definitely the toughest team to handicap in the NFL this season so far.
I have to say Philadelphia. I mean, the very pedestrian 3-4 at the moment. They're just 2-5 against the spread. As their own coach says, they're only a couple of plays from being 5-2. It's very hard to know what's going to happen with this team. Like yesterday, they're up 17 points in the fourth quarter. The biggest comeback for Carolina in their history. Philly runs 14 plays on offense in the fourth quarter. They pass 12 times. They squander a 17-point lead. Very frustrating time to be on that team, and a very frustrating time to be handicapping or investing in that team.
Pro football is king. That we all know. But which teams have the edge? Which players will shine this week? That's the information we're all trying to find out, and VSiN's got the answers for you. Now, on Inside the Numbers, get the very best information from VSiN's hosts and special guests on the biggest NFL games of the weekend. The best of VSiN, the Pro Football Edition, right now.
Every Wednesday, the Westgate Superbook releases lines for the largest football contest in the country. That's a betting contest. Just like he does each and every week, the Westgate's John Murray joined my guys in the desert to go over the lines for this weekend's games.
As we move to Sunday, we go back to London. We've got a 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 East Coast. This, by the way, is where Blake Bortles should always play. He should simply leave the United States mainland, go to London, play for a pickup team, and when the Jaguars come to town, saddle up. You can't beat him in London. So what about the Eagles and the Jaguars, John?
Philadelphia, a 3-point favorite in this game against Jacksonville. It's an interesting line, Brent. This was a pick'em line when we put up our look-ahead line last week, and the Eagles are coming off of a loss, and the line still moved by 3 points. That says a lot about how poorly Jacksonville played this past weekend against the Houston Texans.
Exactly. And Amal, you know, if you go back and look at the last 3 trips, and the Jaguars have gone to London every year, last 3 trips over there, Blake Bortles has virtually played his best football.
You know, I wonder if it's a little bit of a different dynamic in the week. You don't have all the media, everything surrounding you. The team has gotten comfortable with it. You know, we talked about it. I think Philadelphia and they're going over there, obviously. But Carolina, I think, is the only other team that has not played there thus far. And I think the getting familiar with it has helped them.
The joke of the week, John, and that leads us to the Browns and the Steelers, is that head coach Hugh Jackson says he's going to take back the play calling. If that's the case, give me all the Steelers I can get my hands on here as a Steelers host. Now, Hugh Jackson's Browns. What do we have for a line, lad?
Pittsburgh is an 8-point favorite at home, and I think the more responsibilities Hugh Jackson takes on, the more you should look to fade the Cleveland Browns, Brent.
I totally agree.
Why would he be taking on any more responsibilities? They should just lock him in the locker room before the game.
This might be the #1 consensus play of the week.
I mean, he's fortunate to have a job. He's got Haley. Didn't the Browns put 21 on the board in the second half? And he's second-guessing the play calling?
There you go. He was the reason they didn't have 3 additional points in that game.
Bingo.
Oh, I forgot about that.
He won 1 game his first 2 years as the coach. You're 0-16 last year. He's lucky he has a job at all. You're absolutely right, Mr. Musburger.
All right. Now we've got the perfect team against the spread. That's right. The Kansas City Chiefs have covered every number. So how large did you make it in Kansas City against Denver, John?
Kansas City, a 10-point favorite at home against the Denver Broncos. That line looks a little bit high, but I don't think I want to stand in front of Patrick Mahomes again. Guy's incredible.
What's your feeling about a 10 here, Amal?
It's a tough number because it's a division game, but I don't have that much confidence in Case Keenum. If you look at throughout the course of the season, he always throws an interception, Brent, at some point in time during the game. And against this team in this building, you cannot make that mistake.
Return engagement for these two within the past month. This is a game, I think, where the handicappers will look and say, I've got double digits. If the Broncos stick to the game plan that they had in the first meeting, where they ran the ball and ran it very successfully, particularly in the first half, it may be a take. But the 10 is probably where you're going to, off the board, certainly two-way action.
All right. The New York Jets take to the road, and they travel to John Murray's Chicago Bears. John, what do you got on the Jets and the Bears, my buddy?
Bears a 7-point favorite this week, Brett, and I'm not going to pick the Bears again for a while, at least for your Super Contest entry. I had a number of The guy tweeted at me today, said, I don't think Brent Musburger was too happy with your Bears pick last week. And I was like, yeah, I know. Thanks.
I didn't send it, John, but I thought it.
No.
Okay.
So, Brent Musburger burner account sent me that tweet. No Chicago Bears for this week for me, sir.
All right. The Redskins. Redskins have a chance, don't they, to make the playoffs, and they travel up to New Jersey to play the Giants. This game opened around a pick'em. I can't believe the Redskins aren't fair. What'd you make it for the contest, John?
We're using pick'em in the contest. There's some -1 out there on the board, but we're going to go with pick'em in the Super Contest. Although you could argue that the Giants trading Damon Harrison this week, pretty much signaling that they're launching their rebuild right away.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Shermer's all in on analytics and all of that nonsense. I'm all over the Redskins here.
I'm not. This is one of those spots where it looks like the obvious play is Washington. I'm kind of pausing, taking a little bit of just step back on this one.
You don't trust the obvious.
I don't in this one because it's a division game. And here's the thing with Washington. We've seen it, Brent, a couple of times this year. They beat Green Bay at home. They lay an egg to Indianapolis. They play very well against Dallas. We're not sure which Redskins team we're going to get.
Brent, this is a game, and John brought it up, and it's an important point. The game opened pick'em. It went to Redskins 1. There are ones out there, but pick'em for the contest. This is a tricky spot here. Would not shock me. If you hang one here, it's probably all Giants.
Okay, and now, John, we've got a matchup of a couple of teams that I think have surprised folks with how well they have played on occasion. And I'm speaking of the Seattle Seahawks. They saddle up. Boy, they've been on the road throughout the entire first half of this season. The Seahawks will be in Detroit to play the Lions. What do we have here?
Well, certainly the Lions have surprised people. They've covered their last 5 games since that Monday Night Football loss to the Jets. They're going to be a 3-point favorite on Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks.
So they are a 3, okay, and that's pretty much the market number, isn't it? And we've got a 10 o'clock in Cincinnati. Bengals, much tougher at home than they are on the road. There is no question about it. And they host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. John, what do we have in the contest at the Westgate on the Buccaneers and the Bengals?
Bengals are a 4.5-point favorite at home against the Buccaneers. Buccaneers coming off of a very long game last week. Almost had a tie in their game against the Cleveland Browns last Sunday.
And the final 10 o'clock start that we have on the schedule, the Ravens on the road, and they travel to Carolina to play those Panthers who overcame a 17-0 halftime deficit in Philadelphia. What do we have on the Ravens and the Panthers?
Baltimore going to be a 2-point favorite on the road in Carolina. Need better kicking out of Justin Tucker if they want to win this week. That'd be the most shocking play of the NFL season so far.
John, have you seen the replay of his reaction, the tight shot that the camera, his eyes are actually bulging out of his head when he missed it.
He's so good, Brent.
Yes.
I'd be surprised if he missed a 52-yard field goal. I would be surprised.
That's
how good I think Justin Tucker is. I'm still shocked about it 3 days later.
John, are you aware that, we know he never missed an extra point in the NFL. He never missed an extra point in college. I went back and checked that. This is unbelievable, the streak he had.
Well,
he's one of the best kickers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. He might be the best kicker I've ever seen in the NFL. For him to miss a tying extra point is just impossible to believe.
Now hold on, because the assassin wants the final word.
The voice of reason.
Let me tell you something. Those Mac Brown teams weren't scoring too many points, Brian. They didn't have to worry about PATs.
I knew it. I knew it. Slap him up alongside the helmet over there. The voice of reason. He could not wait. He could not wait.
Amal, how many of those mugs did you print up for yourself?
John, yours is on the way.
John, I got 3. One in case I break one, and the other one for you over there at the Westgate.
That's beautiful.
Hey, John, run back through. We've got here at this time of the afternoon around the country, people getting in and out of their cars and everything, listening to Sirius XM Channel 204. Run down what we've gone through for the Westgate Super Contest and the Super Contest goals so far.
No problem. Tomorrow night, we've got the Houston Texans as a 7.5-point favorite at home against the Miami Dolphins. Early Sunday morning in London, the Philadelphia Eagles, a 3-point favorite against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be laying 8. That game at Heinz Field against the Cleveland Browns. The Kansas City Chiefs, a 10-point favorite at home against the Denver Broncos. My Chicago Bears are laying a touchdown and an extra point at home against the New York Jets. The Redskins and the Giants are a pick'em at the Giants. The Detroit Lions, a 3-point favorite at home against the Seattle Seahawks. Cincinnati Bengals giving 4.5 to the Buccaneers in Cincy. And the Baltimore Ravens, a 2-point favorite on the road against the Carolina Panthers.
As you can tell, we're not quite done yet with the Super Contest. More Murray and Musburger on the other side. Inside the Numbers here on VSiN.
This is Inside the Numbers, the Pro Football Edition, the very best information from VSiN's hosts and guests on this week's biggest pro football games. You can listen to VSiN on SiriusXM Channel 204. Watch us online at vsin.com and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
When you take a 3-team tease with 10 points, you're always under that gun. Well, I'll win 2, I'll lose 1, and then the bet's over. But I did my homework this week, as I try to do, and I really like UCLA.
And then who do you want to pair them with?
Houston is at Navy. They're at Annapolis. Houston is 11.5 points, so I would take that game down to 1.5, and then Houston would just have to win by 2.
Right. And then your third team.
Memphis is at Missouri.
And you liked Memphis last week. You were all over Memphis.
I was all over Memphis. Another high-powered team, very good offensive team. I think it's a shootout. I think this could be a 100-point game.
So I go play my lucky machine here, and knowing Ryan, Michael, you guys, this best machines in town. Bob Dancer will tell you. It took about 3 minutes, Mitch. Won about $5,000. Took about 3 minutes. I will buy you lunch today. Can you get a shot of me here? Yeah.
So you're showing up like at 4:01. We wave you off, and you decide to go play video poker, and you hit a royal flush in 3 minutes, and you just won $5,000.
Close to 5,000.
Yeah. It's good. I like the way that works.
You know, in baseball, when we talk about, those of us who handicap baseball and have done so for many years, we always, you know, in our analytics, we talk about splits. And specifically, we talk about home road splits sometimes with certain pitchers. Just an odd thing with certain pitchers based on ballpark. Some teams sign pitchers based on their skill set and their particular dimensions and conditions of their own ballpark. Some of these football teams in the NFL this year seem particularly home road splittish.
So they were really just protecting themselves. Yeah, except for that dude on the right. I don't know what he's clowns thinking he's going to do. Yeah, but the two guys that hit in the orange shirt and the blue, they weren't. Like, the orange shirt's more leaning towards the right. The guy in the blue is kind of protecting himself. Mookie's glove closed before the ball. I don't know if that's because he touched a hand or not, and it's a reaction. I don't know if he's going to catch it, but what I do know is the fans did not go into the field of play to interfere with that ball. I thought that calling that an out was wrong. I mean, I don't know how else you put it. Jose Altuve in Houston got robbed.
Welcome back to Inside the Numbers, where you get the best insight from VSiN's experts on this weekend's biggest pro football games.
Back to the Super Contest we go. The Westgate's John Murray, Brent Musburger, and his guys in the desert discuss the late Sunday games and a heck of a Monday nighter.
We're talking about Week 8 of the National Football League. We're with John Murray from the Westgate Superbook, and we're talking about the contest numbers. Remember, these are static numbers. They will not change. All of us who are involved in that contest will pick against these numbers. We pick up with a late starting game. A fascinating match, probably more so for me because I'll be over there at the game at Oakland. But the Raiders are hosting the Colts, who have been favored in this game. And what did you put on it for the contest, John?
Colts are going to be a 3-point favorite on the road against your Oakland Raiders. You know, the Colts offense looks a lot better lately. Andrew Luck's putting up huge numbers. Seems to really have fit in well with Frank Reich's offensive scheme there in Indianapolis.
You know, John, you're right on the money. I went back before I came down today, and I took a look at just the last 3 games, figuring, okay, that gives Andrew Luck enough time here with this team. They're putting points up on the board. The Raiders the Raiders are going to have to score more points than they've been scoring. And, of course, everybody knows they're without Marshawn Lynch, and they traded away Amari Cooper. So Vinny, this is going to be a tough test for the Raiders. They are coming off their bye. I hear that Osemele is much healthier, so they may be a little bit better in the offensive line than they were in London.
Brent, I think if you look at the Colts, Andrew Luck, to your point, to John's point, he's probably the best third down quarterback, even maybe a little better than Mahomes at the rate he's going. But, of course, he's throwing the ball 65 times a game. The other thing you have to handicap when it comes to the Raiders, and now we're going to see it with the Giants as well, is this trade mode that they're in, stockpile draft picks and build for the future. So that's another element that you've got to take into consideration with the Raider games.
I think Vinny's spot on. My concern when you look at the Giants, and you talked about it a little bit earlier, and the Raiders, they're starting to make moves that it kind of decimates the locker room, the mentality of the team. I was just surprised, though, that the Raiders are a home underdog. I thought this might be a little bit closer towards a pick. I know the Raiders are trending down, though.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because that's the one thing that caught my attention here, that because their lone win came against the Cleveland Browns. Raider fans, they're like no other. And I know they're going to turn out. They'll probably turn sour if things go south in a hurry, but it's an amazing fan base, despite all the losing seasons here of the last decade and a half. Now, the teams that have disappointed for a variety of reasons, injuries are certainly amongst them, but they will meet down in Arizona. And this is a game that I'm absolutely fascinated in. The Cardinals beat the 49ers up in Santa Clara earlier, a few weeks back. So, John, over at the Westgate, what do we have on the rematch? The 49ers playing at the Cardinals' home base.
We're going to use the 49ers as a 1-point favorite on the road here. There's a lot of pick 'em out there. Some 49ers won. We decided to go with the Niners as a 1-point favorite.
Okay, so the Niners are a road favorite in this game. All your early thoughts on these two teams who are bottom feeders right now.
Yeah, you look at San Francisco defensively, they've given up at least 24 points in every game. That's one of their major deficiencies. But on the flip side, I don't know if Arizona's offense is proficient enough to take advantage of that.
Brent, if you look at that game a couple of weeks ago, the 49ers pretty much dominated the statistics. The key was 5 turnovers. They made 5 turnovers. It was 28-18 Cardinals, but 5 turnovers absolutely crippled the Niners in that game.
Okay, now we get to what I think are the two most fascinating games of the weekend, and again, for a variety of reasons. And this will be the key doubleheader game, and we're talking with John Murray over at the Westgate Superbook. We're getting the Super Contest numbers. The Packers at the high-flying Rams. What did you do with this one, John?
Rams a 9.5-point favorite at home against the Green Bay Packers. Packers are coming off their bye. They've got Aaron Rodgers. Pretty sure the public is going to weigh in on the Packers as a dog in this game. We've already seen a few money line bets come in on Green Bay here at the Superbook.
Hey, John, have the Packers ever been in the Rodgers era this big an underdog? 9.5 is huge for the Packers with Rodgers.
I certainly can't remember them being anywhere near this big of an underdog with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback, only when he was hurt and they had to go to some of their less talented backups.
Yeah, I agree with John. Brent, I think the key here is Rodgers kind of sat out a couple of these early practices this week too. You've got 2 public teams, but the more popular public team right now is the Rams with the way they score points.
This Rams offense is just incredible. But if you look at that San Francisco game, thought they had some opportunities offensively, didn't necessarily capitalize. You're giving me Aaron Rodgers. I got to be within 14 points late in the game.
Yeah.
I'll take my chances of him going down 75 yards. I just think this offense is good enough for Green Bay to keep it within that double digits.
Okay, now the game of the week, the rematch, the Minneapolis Miracle, the New Orleans Saints, and they are at Minneapolis again for this rematch. What did we do with the Saints and the Vikings, John?
Minnesota, New Orleans going to be a pick-em here in the Super Contest, Brent. We opened this game Minnesota minus 2.5. We saw some sharp guys take the Saints. We're going to deal this thing at a pick-em. This is clearly the best game of the week in the NFL.
Absolutely, Vinny.
Great game. Terrific action, Brent. Off the board, you may wind up in a situation where the Saints go to the favorite here, especially given some of the moves that they've made recently.
I look at this matchup, Brent. I think it's the best one out there. I'm going to stay away from it. I think this is the kind of game where in-live betting comes very important. You could have a team fall behind 7. All of a sudden, you can get plus 3.5 or 4.5 in the game, and you can take it.
Okay. The Monday Nighter, and the Patriots will be a big road favorite here, I'm sure, as they go up to Buffalo to play the Bills. And John Murray, what's the Super Contest number here?
Monday night game not as attractive as the Sunday night game. New England a 13.5-point favorite on the road in Buffalo.
13.5 points on the road. That's just division game, but it is Buffalo.
It is
38-10 New England.
So is New England your pick 'em all? Got them covering easily, buddy.
I didn't. In case they were yours, I didn't want to say yes, but yes, affirmative.
Okay. Ouch. No, that's not my pick. Although I wouldn't take Buffalo. I'm not going to look to back those Bills. Their quarterback situation's a little messy.
You're absolutely right.
All right, John. Time to break the Murray losing streak. Time to give momentum to VSIN 1 again. What is your pick for VSIN 1, lad?
You know, Brent, I got to just quickly throw the guys here that I work with under the bus, Ed, Jeff, Randy. I asked all of them for a pick, and this is what they give me. Oh, I don't really like anything this week. Oh, that's great. That really helps me. I'm going to go with Seattle +3. They're on the road against the Lions. I know the Lions have been on fire against the spread. I think this line is too high. Seattle coming in off their bye week after an impressive win in London. I'm going to go with the Seahawks plus the 3 points.
Okay, we've got the Seahawks down, and I definitely do not dislike this pick. I was just listening, as a matter of fact, to Pete Carroll. And Wright, his injured linebacker, has got a chance to be in this lineup, and he will add a force. I am surprised at how well, Maul, the Seahawks have played on both sides of the football here in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think people have underestimated them, and they've written them off. I think Pete Carroll is a great coach. They've got some pretty good players. You mentioned KJ Wright just now. They need him back in that lineup. He can be a difference maker for them. It's going to be interesting to see. By the way, Brent, I have to amend my play here. I'm looking at the sheet we have in front of us. I thought New England was at home based on the way it's listed here.
They're on the road.
I did not.
On the road.
I did not know that 13.5 would be on the road. Okay.
It's on the road. So you're off the Patriots.
I'm off the Patriots.
Okay, so the Patriots come off.
Hey, John, I'm going to show you the sheet. I thought it was at New England.
Can I lay 13.5 on the Patriots with you when they do play in New England? 13.5 at home. I'm all.
Hey, listen, I'm not disagreeing with you, but have you seen Derek Anderson play? Last week I said he could throw with his left hand. He'd be more effective. I was probably correct because he threw 3 picks.
Yeah, I don't know how you could back Buffalo. Yeah. I mean, they just – you're going to get down 14-0 right away, and you're just going to be like, why did I do this to myself?
All right, John, run back through the 1 o'clocks and the 2 primetime games for everybody.
No problem. We'll start with the Colts. They are a 3-point favorite on the road against the Oakland Raiders. 49ers are laying 1 in Arizona against the Cardinals. You've got the LA Rams laying 9.5 at home against the Green Bay Packers. Saints-Vikings, the rematch of the Minneapolis Miracle in Minnesota. That game is a pick'em. And New England is laying 13.5 at Buffalo Mall. That game is in Buffalo.
So, it's almost time to start thinking a little bit about Super Bowl matchups, who's going to win the NFC and the AFC. So Vinny and John can think about the teams that are favored. I dropped by Boyd Gaming over at the Suncoast, and the Chiefs are even money to win the AFC, and the Patriots are 2-1. And I was fascinated because it's been a long time a-coming when I see a team in Week 8 that is rated up there with the Patriots to win the AFC. And remember, head-to-head, the Patriots were able to win that one. It was a great game, 43-40. Vinny, what do we have at the South Point to win the AFC?
I'm trying to...
You have that? How about, John, how about over at the Superbook?
I'm pulling it up right now. I want to make sure I have them all correct for you.
Okay.
The Patriots are plus 225, and Kansas City is plus 175.
Okay.
About 5 cents different. Yeah, they're right there, Brent.
They are right there, aren't they?
Yep.
Go ahead, Amar.
Plus 250 or plus $2 for the Chiefs. And what'd you say, John? That you had the
225 and 175.
225 and 175.
Yep, that's it. Right there.
Okay, and
I would look at New England because if Kansas City drops one more game, and I'm looking at the Patriots' schedule, they only really have 2 to 3 more games where you feel like they may be really challenged. Mm-hmm. If they're able to go 13-3, 12-4, there's a strong possibility they could wind up with home field advantage throughout. Look, if they have to go to Kansas City, I think the Chiefs win. But if you're telling me I'm getting the Patriots at this price, basically in the AFC Championship game, Brent, New England is not going to be, or Kansas City is not going to be more than a minus $1.50 to $1.75 on the money line. You can hedge it right there.
Okay, now, guys, over on the NFC, Boyd Gaming had the Rams at minus 150, Eagles 13-2, Vikings 4-1, Packers 6-1, and the Saints 3-1. So obviously we've got more contenders in the NFC than we do in the AFC. What do we have here at the South Point and at the Westgate? Let's start with you, John.
The Rams are minus 120 here, sir. You've got to think the Rams just have the inside track to that #1 seed. They look very likely to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Some of the other contenders, the Saints are 4-1. The Vikings are 6-1.
Rams even and plus 350 for the Saints. Saints second choice.
If you're going to bet the Saints, bet them now before the game next week because they host the Rams after this Minnesota game.
Okay, so there we have it. And, John, we want to thank you a lot. And, again, the big bet that was made over there at the Superbook on the World Series came in on the Dodgers. Is that what you told us earlier?
Yeah, the sharper player. We had a guy that I respect. He's a good baseball bettor. He took the Dodgers plus 134 for tonight's game.
For tonight's game 2. And what's the price here again, Vinny, on game 2 of the World Series?
Minus 42 plus 32.
Okay.
Red Sox.
All right, John, thanks a lot. The Seahawks are in for VSiN 1. Good luck, my friend. We're going to go 5-0.
I'm rooting for you, sir. I want to come through. I had a sleepless night last night trying to come up with a winner for you. So hopefully Russell Wilson and the guys get it done for us.
Big John, Big Bad John. Okay, he's over there at the Westgate Superbook. We'll check in. He'll be around live at VSiN next Tuesday. And what I remind everybody about, cashing tickets is what it's all about. So that's what, let's see what we've got here. Oh, listen to this. They put the New England Patriots on Point Spread Weekly. Okay, so they're all over the Patriots as they go up into Buffalo for the Monday Nighter. And again, I want to point out that Point Spread Weekly really can help you, lead you to more wins. And now's the time to subscribe. There's a special limited time offer now, even though we're halfway through the football season. Get Point Spread Weekly and access to everything we do for just $99 through the Super Bowl. All right? It's a 90-page edition that'll come your way every week, okay? And you'll find betting trends, systems for the primetime games on Thursday, Sunday, and Monday night. And you've got rundowns on all the college games. If nothing else, the one thing that I love Point Spread Weekly about is it's got all the records in there. Past games, future games. I can see what's ahead for some of these teams, and I can see what's behind them. I can see what they average running the ball, what they average throwing the ball. And there's also betting coverage of the National Hockey League, the Canadian Football League, and NASCAR. So go to vsin.com/subscribe for the package that makes sense, including that special offer now, $99 through the Super Bowl next February. Point Spread Weekly and full access to our live video and replays. vsin.com/subscribe.
If none of the spreads or totals look attractive to you this weekend, don't worry. Mitch and Paul from Follow the Money have an alternative for you. That's next on Inside the Numbers, the best of VSiN.
This is Inside the Numbers, the Pro Football Edition, the very best information from VSiN's hosts and guests on this week's biggest pro football games. You can listen to VSiN on SiriusXM Channel 204. Watch us online at vsin.com and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live.
I would say for me, the hardest team to handicap each week is the Chicago Bears. Sometimes they look like world beaters, especially in that great win they had over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mitchell Trubisky threw for 6 touchdowns in that game. They also had a very impressive performance against the Green Bay Packers. I know they lost the game, but they easily covered. They should have won. And then other weeks, they've really looked like the team they were last year, a losing team. Most notably, they let down the book on Sunday against the New England Patriots. Trubisky could have thrown 2, 3, 4 interceptions in that game. He was very erratic. You don't know what you're going to get from Trubisky week in and week out. You don't know what you're going to get from that defense sometimes either.
Philadelphia Eagles, they're just 3-4, 1-2 on the road, 2-2 at home. But the teams they've beaten so far, the Colts, the Giants, and the Falcons, they all have one thing in common: losing records. They haven't beaten anybody really good yet. The teams they've lost to are Tampa, Tennessee, Carolina, and Minnesota, and 2 of those losses have come at home. So I think through the first 7 weeks, they're a really tough team to handicap.
The Dallas Cowboys have been the toughest team to handicap in the NFL. Week in, week out, it is a different team that seems to show up on the playing field. Plus the inconsistencies of the running game and the quarterback, injuries to the offensive line, defensive injuries to their team captain, Sean Lee, and coaching, which definitely is changed up each and every week by Jason Garrett, has made the Dallas Cowboys definitely the toughest team to handicap in the NFL this season so far.
I have to say Philadelphia. I mean, they're very pedestrian 3-4 at the moment. They're just 2-5 against the spread. As their own coach says, they're only a couple of plays from being 5-2. It's very hard to know what's going to happen with this team. Like yesterday, they're up 17 points in the fourth quarter. The biggest comeback for Carolina in their history. Philly runs 14 plays on offense in the fourth quarter. They pass 12 times. They squander a 17-point lead. Very frustrating time to be on that team, and a very frustrating time to be handicapping or investing in that team.
Welcome back to Inside the Numbers, where you get the best insight from VSiN's experts on this weekend's biggest pro football games.
As we get set for Week 8 of the NFL season, Mitch and Paul from Follow the Money talk some prop bets for not only this weekend, but for the rest of the season, too.
Let's go over some global props here for Week 8. Which week will the Rams have their first loss of the season? This week against the Packers, a little bit more than 3-1. How about Week 9 against the Saints? They're 5-4. Week 10, Seahawks 10-1. Week 11 versus the Chiefs 13-4. Or any other week, or undefeated 12-5.
I'm with you. I think they go for it. McVay's a lunatic. I think he'd be like, maybe it wouldn't even matter. All right, I'll give Gurley a half off, whatever. Or it's I don't want to sit guys because they're gonna clinch the division so early. They already have what essentially is a 3.5 game lead. I think he'll go for it if they're undefeated late.
Bill Barnwell had a column yesterday.
Maybe week 9 against the Saints, but if they win that, I mean, this could with all the bad teams of the division, the rest, late November, early December.
Well, a couple of things on this. Dave Tooley's making the case for Packers to beat them this week.
Oh boy,
off the bye, thinks the points is way too high, and he says I think they can get them straight up. There's also this:
the Packers.
Yeah.
Can't stop anybody.
They would
watch a Monday night game.
They would have to win a shootout against the Rams. Have to, right?
They're not slowing them down.
What are they going to win, 20-17?
Nobody's slowing them down. Can't slow down Gurley.
So Bill Barnwell had a humongous column on ESPN.com yesterday suggesting the exact opposite of what you said a minute ago.
He will sit people.
Well, he said if you for fantasy owners, he said he posed the question: is it time to freak out because they can clinch this division? I mean, by Thanksgiving, it can be over with.
It will be.
Yeah.
Oh, it will be.
So he said, "What?" And he said, "If you
week 10, it'll be over. And it'll be over week 10 when they beat Seattle at home.
Go back and look at last year when there was still seeding up in the air. Week 17, he said everybody, and they got ran out, and they lost a playoff game. So he said, based on that history, what does he do? Will he sit guys again, or will he realize, look, we lost the playoff game after I sat guys, so what do we do?
Right.
So he basically said, if you own Todd Gurley, Robert Woods, Jared Goff, Brandon Cooks, et al., right, is now the time to start planning ahead just in case he's going to say, screw weeks 15, 16, 17, who knows when.
I don't think he'll do it. Backfired on him.
It did last year.
You could argue it backfired. I know he got away from the run and was pass happy in that game, and they had 2 big special teams turnovers, but I don't think he'll do that this year. I think he'll want to keep guys at least get out there for a half at least.
Will the 2018 Cleveland Browns break the record for most overtime games in a single season?
How about this?
Yes, it's 4-1.
They're that close already.
They played 4. Packers, 1983, played in 5.
I think they'll get it.
I think they'll at least tie.
I think they'll get it.
A lot of time left here to play in at least one more.
Oh, man. And it's only plus money. Will they do it again with the rest of the season? Will they play another overtime game? 4 overtime games through 7 weeks.
Yeah, that's plus 120. Yes, sign me up for that.
Mm-hmm.
Total net yards for the Arizona Cardinals in Week 8. Over-under is 310.5. They are dead last in yards per game with 220.7. And it's their first game with the new OC here, Byron Leftwich.
Yep, that's good. McCoy's out. I can only look over. I'm sure you get these guys at least excited to show up to work now. It's like, all right, we're actually going to run an NFL offense. And they love Leftwich, apparently, when you look at the comments. And they think, stars being thrown around. Up-and-comer. Good play caller.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're yeah. So that's anyone's better than McCoy, though. So McCoy gets whacked again.
And they put a team total up here of 21.5 against San Francisco. They just played. That was a weird game. 14-6 late.
They couldn't do anything on offense.
No.
It was all turnovers.
It was like...
Got dominated.
I think the Niners had like 450 yards in that game. 5 turnovers zone. They got beat by 10 points. And here are your updated odds, at least at one offshore book to win the MVP. Patrick Mahomes here now, your leader at 11-4. Drew Brees second at 5-1. The way it sounds, by the way, the media is going to make people that have a vote could make a big push for Brees this late in his career.
Lifetime achievement,
career
achievement.
I don't think he has an INT this year. Can we check that, John, if you mind? Can you check Drew Brees? Does he have an interception this year? I don't think he does. Todd Gurley's 5-1, absolutely right there with Mahomes, in my opinion.
Yeah. How many touchdowns is he going to have?
Goff 7-1, no chance. Get him, drop those numbers. You must have a lot of liability on him. Aaron Rodgers 10-1, Brady's 12-1. I'll tell you, Phillip Rivers 16-1. If they would somehow win 12 games, maybe can they win that division though?
Nope. Not going to get it over Mahomes. No way. What do you got, John?
13 touchdowns, no picks.
There you go, on Drew Brees. So there's going to be a big push for him, and I don't get this at all. Okay, here's the thing. I don't think in this day and age voters will really, truly consider a wide receiver to win the MVP.
Well, they'll be put to the test this year.
But right now, Adam Thielen, he was off the board. He's now 50-1. That's the same number as Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald, Saquon Barkley, and Mitch Trubisky's 45-1. Roethlisberger and Joe Flacco 40-1. Are you kidding me? Right now, if I had a vote, I'd have him third with a really good shot to win this thing. I'd go Mahomes 1, Gurley slightly behind Mahomes, and then Thielen sitting at
He's got to be. He's got to be on the list. Yes, has to be in the discussion. Yes. Total receiving yards in Week 8. Over under 108.5. First player in NFL history with 100 yards in the first 7 games. Will he break the record of 8 straight 100-yard receiving games? Yes, 2-1. The record of 8 was in 2012 by Megatron. Will he record 100 yards receiving in every game?
I love it.
Yes, 6-1.
6-1, huh?
That's a duffel bag on the no. But still, that's great that they put
Great
that
idea,
up.
though. Yeah,
yes,
sure.
it is. How about that? What a story. How about Cooper? Receiving yards, Week 9 to Week 17, 517.5. Receptions, Week 9 to Week 17, 40.5. Touchdowns, 3. Will Peterson be traded before November 14th? Yes, plus 150. Doesn't look like that's going to happen.
I hope so. Come on, change your mind, Arizona.
Uh-huh. Will Tucker miss an extra point the rest of the season? Yes, plus 350.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
Take a shot there on the yes.
Good stuff. I'm with you. I'm with you. I mean, that's... Now, Moss never got consideration, but one year he averaged 100 yards and a touchdown. Sure. He was the only guy to do that. Mm-hmm. And they were lost without him when he got hurt. He got hurt one year, pulled his hammy.
Is Rice the only guy to ever do that?
I don't know. You might be right.
I think he won it the year that he had, the 22 touchdowns?
Oh, it's a strike year, too.
Strike year, yeah. It was insane number.
That's a joke.
Uh-huh.
22, 20, whatever it was, 22 touchdowns in a strike year.
But wide receivers will never see.
I know. And
I tweeted that out like a couple weeks ago, or whenever it was, that Thielen's got to be considered. And a couple of people go, no, look at the quarterback. It's Kirk Cousins. Okay, all right. That's the way.
Why does he get all the credit?
Why would he? Yeah. Hmm?
He should get some of the credit, but also I got to run the route and get open and make them. I mean, if I'm wide open, what does he have to do?
Thielen's been uncoverable this year.
It was like the 07 Patriots. Oh, Brady. Well, Moss is wide open by 10 yards on the deep on the go route.
Right.
Remember the first touchdown against the Jets? Triple coverage.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bam.
Remember the Miami game? One hand, triple coverage. Mm-hmm. Oh, Brady. What Brady? The guy's catching the ball with one hand.
Total game changer.
It's the only guy who could do that. Him and Megatron. Well, the second guy. Touchdown, triple coverage, throw it up. I got it. Don't worry.
Back, we close out the show with an appropriately named segment. It's the closing lines. That's next on Inside the Numbers, the best of VSiN.
This is Inside the Numbers, the Pro Football Edition, the very best information from VSiN's hosts and guests on this week's biggest pro football games. You can listen to VSiN on SiriusXM Channel 204. Watch us online at vsin.com and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
We ready? We take teasers on the NBA.
Oh, my man.
Hold on.
My man knows. I can't resist. How about Moneyline Parlay?
There you go. How can you tease the NBA? There's 220 points might be scored. That's my point. This extra 4.5 points are really going to do me good. I guarantee he makes the bet.
I can lay 8 with the Warriors. Okay. All right. Now, the Celtics, I can bring them down. Which way, Vinny, do I make more money on the $100? The tees or the money line?
Hey,
Okay.
do yourself a
So-
favor. Don't put either job you have.
You know, I watched last week when Purdue put 46 straight points up on Illinois. And the play calling, creative and aggressive play calling by Jeff Brom is something you just don't see from a lot of coaches. And frankly, there's a lot of NFL coaches would be served to watch film of this guy's play calling and adjust, because I love how aggressive the guy is. And I think they're going to attack Ohio State Saturday night in prime time. And I think the Buckeyes are going to be sweating. They should be on upset alert. I wouldn't be shocked if Purdue wins that game straight up.
Could you please, sir, give us one moment of non-humility where you share once again the stuff that actually started with you? Because we talk about season wins with Jimmy all the time, but you started some stuff.
I had a few things I started. The mega teaser, the super teaser, whatever you call it, that card.
The three-team 10-pointer.
10-point teaser. Yeah, I was the first to come up with that.
That's you. The stuff that everybody takes for granted.
Yeah.
That was you.
I was the first to come up with that.
Wait, JVT's favorite team is the Colts?
Oh, he loves
you know this?
Loves the Colts. He's got a Colts. He has a Colts tattoo, Jay. He has a Colts
Okay, that's
tattoo.
inaccurate, but I do have a Colts watch.
Jay, let me ask JVT a question then. What does the Colts stand for?
I'm sorry?
What the Colts?
Like, what is a colt?
The Colts.
It's a baby horse.
Yes, COLTS.
Oh,
what does that stand for?
I have no idea. What does that stand for?
Oh, I was told this by a Colts fan many years ago, and I still remember it today. Count on losing this Sunday.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, okay.
Welcome back to Inside the Numbers, where you get the best insight from VSiN's experts on this weekend's biggest pro football games.
All right, we take a swing at it every week on Between the Sidelines, the Westgate Superbook. John Murray, their director, joined Mr. Atlantic City, JVT, and myself to take a guess at where spreads would settle by kickoffs on Sunday.
In London, 9:30 a.m. on the East Coast. Philadelphia taking on Jacksonville. Threes across the board. We do see a 3 minus 105. I would think a benched Blake Bortles, Jaguars in dire straits, Eagles. Yes, they did blow that game against the Carolina Panthers, but they're going to be the side to back if it does move. It's going to go anywhere. It's going to go 3.5. I don't think it moves, though.
I think this number's right. I mean, we opened this game 2.5, and we had one of our a guy that I respect immediately laid 2.5. We went up to 3 even. I don't see this number really getting off of 3. Mm-hmm. This could be another tough watch, honestly. These London games are tough, John.
Yeah, and we got a decent one last weekend, but of course, it is marred by the fact that the Titans did not pull it out on the end with a 2-point conversion. How much does it also affect the fact that it's going to be 6 a.m. out here? In terms of
that's not good for pregame betting. Yeah. We do have good handle on the second half of these games, though. A lot of people are coming into the book to bet on the 10 a.m. games, and they say, what the heck, I'm going to bet on the second half.
This is the lowest total on the board, too, 41.5. Now, just to explain this, Sean, when you say you have a respected mind come in and lay Philly minus 2.5, is it the amount of money or is it the knowledge that this gentleman or lady knows what they're doing?
These guys that we respect, I mean, they're usually betting the maximum that will allow them to bet, so it's really not the amount of money. in a situation like that, Sam. He's just a player that I think is sharp, and he laid the Eagles right when we opened the number.
Okay, so if he were to come in and bet $5.50, he would move the number.
If you bet $5, I'd be a little confused, John. I don't know what I would do then.
Right. All right. Next up on the rotation, 253, 254, if you so choose. The Pittsburgh, I was going to say Pirates for some reason, Steelers. An 8-point favorite here at the South Point Hotel and Casino over the Cleveland Browns. 8.5 at the Westgate and 7.5 at another shop. So this is a varying number, but those 7.5s are going to go. I think Pittsburgh's going to be side to back here. 8.5 or 8 is going to be the number in my opinion.
Pittsburgh always good at home in Heinz Field. Roethlisberger really excels there. But, we always see these wise guys come in on the Browns. And the Browns have been covering for people this year. So I think this thing might go down to 7.5.
I made the game 10, actually. I made Pittsburgh minus 10. But you're right. There is this love and this infatuation for Cleveland. It happened last year. It happened the year before. 3 years in a row, you guys can't write anything but Cleveland when Cleveland plays. Knowing all that, 7.5.
I love the Browns. Lump me in with that group that always picks the Browns and enjoy. I think the Browns games are the most watchable games every week.
Yep, I think they're great. And on top of that, I got off the train when they got destroyed by the Chargers.
Yeah.
But it might be time to start getting back on because they're in some of these games for the most part.
That Charger game got away from the Browns.
When you give up a touchdown in triple coverage, it's not your day.
The Chargers are very quietly 5-2.
Yeah.
And then when they get Joey Bosa back, their defense is going to be very good.
And I believe they only have 2 losses, one of the Rams and one of the Chiefs, right?
I think that's right, yeah.
Chargers?
Yeah.
Yeah, Chargers.
No, they're very quietly playing well. Could be a threat in the AFC West. I just don't trust Anthony Lynn, and what I saw Sunday morning was just an abomination.
Yep, seen him multiple times. Speaking of the AFC West, Kansas City takes on Denver. Before that Sunday night game, you guys had posted it up at 9. Now 10 is the spread. Total 56, but who cares about that because we're guessing closing line. The Chiefs, perfect against the number. They're going to get a lot of support. I would think, if anything, this moves off 10. It goes like 10.5. The Broncos can't get any action on the road.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Chiefs are not giving the public any reason to stop betting on them every week, and so they're just going to keep doing it. Yeah, I think you're right. I think, if anything, this will go up maybe 10.5, 11.
Wait it out. You might get 11 by kickoff. Wait it out.
Okay, New York Jets and the Chicago Bears. Sultan of the South Side end of the spread. Sam Peniadovich, what do you got?
I think it might close 6.5. I am in no rush, and let's be clear, I wasn't on the Bears the last 2 weeks. I like this spot for Chicago, but there's this love for the Jets here at the window. And people are betting the Jets a whole lot this year. You mentioned the number at home last week. With it 9-2 in their last 11 going into the game.
6-1-1 as home underdogs before last week too.
Yeah, lost last week to the Vikings, but the Vikings much better team than the Jets. I think you'll see the 7s disappear the other way. I think this might be 6.5 on the close. John, I'm in no rush to lay Mitch Trubisky 6.5.
Yeah. We opened this game 6, and we had a gentleman bet $50,000 on the Bears minus the 6. I agree with you, though, Sammy. I think this thing will come down a little bit. The Bears with that offense and Trubisky laying a touchdown, that seems like a lot. Trubisky's got wheels, though, Sammy. He was making some plays with his feet.
He's Eric Crouch at this point. I mean, that's what he is. He can't throw, but he can run.
Not a very accurate passer.
He was bad
on Sunday.
There was a video circulating around Twitter. Somebody spliced 7 different passes that could have been touchdowns that he either overthrew, underthrew, or just completely missed.
Yep.
Well, he threw a lot of balls that should have been intercepted, too.
He should have 2 red zone picks.
New England was I know New England dropped one that was just a gift. Yep. I believe it was in the first quarter. Just
dropped 2 of them in the red zone.
Yeah. Yep. So that game could have really been a lot worse for Trubisky.
Yeah. And I'm with you, Sam. I think this is a favorable spot, especially the Jets are really banged up. But, of course, you'd rather go a spot in terms of laying 4.5 or in that range. You'd be much more comfortable with Trubisky in that role.
Not laying 7. Yeah, I understand the bet at minus 6, but at 7, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yes, it is. All right. Washington Redskins on the road taking on the New York Giants.
Here we go.
Wheelhouse, John. All right.
Here we go.
You got to be impressed. The Redskins, again, back-to-back weeks. They get bet to the point where they're a slight home dog.
By the way,
take care of business.
Over 7. Let's go. We're halfway home.
That's right. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're a good win on Sunday for the Redskins. They're in first place now. Matt Humans did not handle that call very well. I was on the air with him Sunday night. He was very upset about that, Sam.
I was being really quiet because I had the Redskins.
Yeah, he was very upset about
the infraction on the snapper.
Yeah. I think this line will probably go the other way, maybe to pick them or maybe the Giants, a small favorite.
Yeah, because people bet the Giants like they bet the Browns last year. People love the bet on the Giants.
Yeah, and you don't see there's not a lot of support for the Redskins.
But see, why is so? You mentioned it. People like to bet on the Giants. People have clearly over the last few weeks not liked to bet on the Redskins, and you hear they are. They're 4-2 straight up and against the number.
Yeah, I mean, but the Giants, they easy cover last night.
It's true. Didn't have to sweat it.
You know, the Giants really had a brutal first 7 games to start the season. I remember looking at their schedule before the year and just going, these guys are going to be lucky to be 3-4.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're 1-6. It starts to open up a little bit, although the Redskins are a pretty frisky team themselves.
I like that word, frisky. Short week for the Giants.
You started Kicking is for losers. I'm going to start a hotline, 1-800-KICK-ME, if you take the Giants the rest of the year.
I took the Giants this past week.
Well, you made out okay this time.
And no one kicked me.
You played with fire.
Yeah.
Didn't get burned.
No. I feel fine.
All right. Seattle, Detroit. Next up, Detroit, originally a 2.5-point favorite. You guys moved it to 3.
Mm-hmm.
I would think, look, the Lions have been solid. You see the number there, 5-1 against the spread thus far this year. As you had it, Sam, top team, especially behind the Chiefs in terms of your return if you bet on them from week to week. Seahawks coming off of a bye, though. You're getting 3 points. I'm not sure if it really moves, but I think the Seahawks are going to be the side that gets the support here.
Yeah, I don't see it going over 3.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised by that, John. Although Detroit is playing well. Seattle is coming off their bye week, though. Extra week to prepare for this game.
Could be getting KJ Wright back.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, this number looks right to me. 3 it looks like a good number for this game. But if anything, maybe we could see the +3 juiced, or maybe 2.5. I'd be very surprised if it went to 3.5.
I crossed this one off right away. I looked at Seattle, what they've done on the road. Lost at Denver, lost at Chicago, barely beat the Cardinals. I don't think they're as good as people think. You're right, though. There's going to be a lot of buy on Seattle because it's Russell Wilson +3. But then there's also going to be the crowd that looks at Detroit and what they've done at home. They've beaten the Patriots. They've beaten the Packers. 3 is probably a fair close.
Detroit's got some pretty decent playmakers. And Stafford's a good quarterback. Detroit's a kind of a quietly good team.
If they can actually balance out their play calling and run the ball, like with Kerryon Johnson, I like Johnson a lot.
I like him.
So he's been a great addition for him, and especially with the injury at running back, too. He's going to be a 3-down guy. I'm with you. The Lions could be really good down the stretch. They've already shown against the number, at least. They've been
Is
pretty
there a
undervalued.
more puzzling loss this year than them losing by 31 on Monday night to the Jets?
You know what the craziest thing is, Sammy? I mean, they got up 7-0 right away. Darnold throws a pick 6, so it's not like they fell behind and it just unraveled.
Mm-hmm.
They got a lead right off the bat, and that really is one of the most unexplainable games of the year.
Tampa Bay, Cincinnati up next. Cincinnati now.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great performance on Sunday night against the Chiefs. And now they're about a 5-point favorite, 4.5 over at John Murray's book. At the total, 54. But at home against the Buccaneers team, defensively, not great. But they do get the win over the lowly Cleveland Browns.
All it took was a 59-yard field goal to get that W. I'm looking forward. I told Sam I was looking forward to the battle of wits between Dirk Cutter and Marvin Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
Should be one of the more entertaining games of the week. I think the number will probably come down from 5.
Yeah.
4.5, I think, is a more appropriate number. Bengals didn't look very good on Sunday Night Football, John.
No, they did not. Against a bad defense, too. You only mustered 10 points. Yeah. Not a good look.
Yeah, and 5, 4.5. I mean, those are dead numbers anyways. People are going to grab the 5. They're going to go against the Bengals team that just got embarrassed on Sunday night.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, Baltimore and Carolina. Next on the rotation, you have Baltimore open up as a pick over at the Westgate. Now 1.5. I don't think it surprises anybody that the Ravens are getting bet to this point. You don't know if they're going to win that game, John, but they did do a great job driving downfield, tying the game. Justin Kicker, again, in his pro career, Sam pointed out to me, 222 of 222 in terms of extra points, and he finally misses one. They were going to go to overtime with New Orleans, and who knows what happens there. But it doesn't surprise me that they're getting bet up to 1.5. I'm not sure how much higher it gets. Maybe you see 2 or 2. I don't even think it gets 2.5 with what Carolina did against the Eagles last week.
Yeah, Baltimore-New Orleans was such a well-played game.
Yep.
That was the most well-played game I've seen this season in the NFL. I think you're right. I think it might go up a little bit. It's not going to get to the full 3. People would absolutely take Carolina +3 at home.
And you guys opened this at a pick'em.
Yeah, we actually had money come in on both sides of this game on Sunday night, right when we opened it, Sam. We saw guys taking either end of this one. Should be some pretty split action on it, but I do think the public will mostly bet on Baltimore here.
All right. We opened up at the Black Hole as a 1.5-point spread with the Colts being favored on the road. Now they're a 3-point favorite on the road against the Raiders. With the way that the home dogs have been coming in, and I get that the Raiders are kind of in dire straits, 2-4 against. I don't think the Colts are going to get bet up to like a 3.5-point favorite. It's not going to go that direction. They can't.
Over 3 is a lot, but I think the Raiders kind of waved the white flag yesterday, John. Yeah. I mean, we've been speculating for a few weeks now that they want to lose, and I think they pretty much showed that to the country yesterday when they traded Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
If anything, it will probably go up, but I mean, it's hard to lay more than 3 on the road.
It certainly is, but I'm with you. It's not going to 2.5.
I don't think so.
Who's going to line up to bet the Raiders here? Anybody?
Andrew Luck is playing great. Quietly, he's playing very well. He's fitting well into Frank Reich's offense. Would it surprise you if the Colts blew these guys out?
It surprised me that they blew out the Bills. They looked great. I was really impressed with what they did. And when you take care of teams like that, like you're supposed to, it's a really impressive performance. All right, San Francisco and Arizona. This one bounced around a little bit. Oh, you guys opened it up a pick, went to Arizona 1, went back to pick, San Francisco 1, and now it's still a pick. Multiple shops around here. I mean, you can have whatever side you want. I'm not sure what you're going to do with this matchup.
I think all four of us that make the numbers on Sunday nights called this game a pick 'em.
Yep.
And we just went to the next game with no discussion. I don't know why this number would move off of pick 'em. This should be a barn burner.
Yeah. So you expect the handle to be pretty big on this one, huh?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that I guess could potentially move the line, there's been some rumors of Patrick Peterson being traded.
Yeah.
He's really one of the best corners in the league. That could theoretically do something to the line.
Yeah.
I don't know which one I'm more excited for. Miami, Houston, Tampa, Cincinnati, or San Francisco, Arizona. It's tough.
I'm going to go San Francisco, Arizona. Throw it out there. There you go. Made the first for you.
Oh, we could see Josh Rosen.
Yeah, exactly.
New offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich, John.
That's a good point, too. Maybe we see what happens. Maybe Ming brings the most out of Rosen. All right, Rams and Packers. We'll move through these last few quickly. Rams are a 9.5-point favorite. I think this is easy because there's 8.5s and 9s out there. I think the Packers. Now, Aaron Rodgers didn't practice today, as Sam brought up. But I think grabbing 9 points for the Packers seems like what's going to happen here. You're going to grab it with Aaron Rodgers.
I agree. I think it'll come down. The public will play Green Bay money line, too.
Yeah.
Watch for that this weekend.
Okay, plus 340. Agree, Sam?
I agree, but the Rams are the side for me.
Okay. And then New Orleans and Minnesota, this is a pick or -1. This one's tough because I think the Saints are going to get some backing here, especially after what they pulled off in Baltimore. I'm going to go, I say the Saints flip as the favorite on the road.
I agree with you, and based on the action I saw early on, I think it's very possible that New Orleans maybe closes a 1.5-point favorite.
Well, and the Vikings are banged up. Here's the injury list right now. Everson Griffin, Xavier Rhodes, Andrew Sendejo, Linval Joseph, Anthony Barr, Riley Reif, Mike Hughes, Dalvin Cook, all on the injury list. Some of those guys are out. Some of them are questionable. They're very banged up right now. And the last two games, they've beaten two rookie quarterbacks, Darnold and Rosen. There's going to be a lot of money on the Saints.
All right, and last one, Monday Night Football. The Patriots are a 2-touchdown favorite, 13.5 here, but 14 in a lot of other places.
This is Monday night
on the road. It's Monday night, and I think this is what you're going to see because I think you guys have 14 right now, Murray. Yeah. If it moves, it's going to go to 13.5, but there's not going to be much.
I think it might go up from 13.5 to 14. I hope that they somehow put Nathan Peterman in. Nathan Peterman's the only thing that would make that a watchable football game.
Anderson's hurt. He could be.
Yeah, I mean, if it's Peterman in there, I want to watch just because I think he's fun.
I need the promo. Brady. Peterman.
That'd be great, man.
Monday night.
I would watch to see Nathan J. Peterman play.
Some quick news and notes from around the NFL. Rob Gronkowski, the Patriots star tight end, he told reporters he will travel with the team to Buffalo for Monday night's game against the Bills. However, he could not confirm that he would definitely play in the game, so we still don't know. Gronkowski, of course, dealing with a back injury. After practicing in full on Wednesday, Vikings defensive end Everson Griffin expected to make his return to the field. He missed the last 5 games, dealing with a lot of injuries off the field, and also with a knee injury. The Texans also leave without wide receiver Will Fuller for the season after Houston head coach Bill O'Brien announced yesterday Fuller tore his ACL in Thursday's win over the Dolphins. To the Super Contest, the consensus picks in the Classic and the Gold. Green Bay #1, Philly 2, Washington 3, Seattle 4, Chicago 5. In the Gold, Green Bay again, plus 9.5, the top pick. Seattle 2, Chicago 3, Philadelphia 4, and New Orleans 5. That's our show for this week. We hope you enjoyed it. Until next week, I'm Sam Panayotovich, thanking you for watching or listening to Inside the Numbers. And remember, as Uncle Brent always says, cash and tickets is what it's all about.
This is Inside the Numbers, the Pro Football Edition, the very best information from VSiN's hosts and guests on this week's biggest pro football games. You can listen to VSiN on SiriusXM Channel 204. Watch us online at vsin.com and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live. The Breeders' Cup World Championships takes place this coming Friday and Saturday at Churchill Downs. And this week only now, ExpressBet upping the ante for our VSiN listeners, a $200 sign-up bonus. You got to get in on this. $200 in free cash to bet the races. Go to ExpressBet online betting account. Okay, use the promo code now, Brent200. Sign up for an ExpressBet online betting account. Use the promo code Brent200. Wager $200, and then they apply the $200 bonus. It's like betting the races with house money. Promo code 200. Breeders' Cup, of course, 14 championship races, showcasing the best horses in the world, making it a betting opportunity you cannot afford to pass up. So go to expressbet.com to learn more. And then next week here at VSiN, of course, Vinny and Ron and all the guys, they'll be talking about the upcoming Breeders' Cup. But remember that promo code, Brent200.